Good morning, everyone. We are here at the final stage, stage 3 of Bara Epic Israel. Good morning, Elliot.
Morning, Ori. It's not really stage 3, it's stage 3.5, I think. We had a prologue on the first day. That did actually tire them out a little bit.
Well, their legs absolutely remember that prologue.
And I can tell, after yesterday I went out after our broadcast, went out on the e-bike at the last 10-15 Ks and looked at the riders, and they were absolutely finished. A lot of the riders they'd known what they'd done. They'd done 100 and how many?
120 kilometers.
I mean, it's amazing. 120, and they've still got how many to do today?
They have 72 kilometers to go today. We'll go through the map very soon. It's not going to be easy.
But I think those 72 kilometers today is your last day. It's going to go quicker. It's going to feel a lot shorter than it was yesterday, and you're going to think you're in a sprint race today.
It will feel shorter, and the riders know that is the final day. They can leave everything out there on the road.
Well, they don't have to get up tomorrow morning again, do they?
Only for work.
Maybe not. I think a lot of the riders will take a day off tomorrow.
I would surely love to take a day off.
I think my voice needs a day off. We've been talking for, it seems like 12 hours over the last 3 days.
Well, it will be today, that's for sure. So as we said, it is a Saturday here, the final stage, the third stage, maybe third and a half after a prologue at Bara Epic Israel. We're going to have 72 kilometers with 780 meters of climbing.
Now, Ori, there's a lot more people here today. I don't know if you can see on the pictures, but we've also added on a day race that you can join up, and it's 75 or 57 Ks. We've got another 300 riders on the track today.
Wow, that is a big number. Here we can see the map of today. We're going to head north to Rosh Hanikra, one of the prettier places in Israel, then head east. Before we go back south, we'll have 2 single tracks in Metzuba and Hanita, won't we?
Now, they're completely they're not they are different. Hanita is a hard climb, twisty. It's nice to climb, but the drop down from Hanita is very technical. You have to be very careful. You could easily come off. There's a lot of turns and a lot of loose rocks. Metzuba on the other side is quite flat, but it's like it's one of those flowing singles that we had yesterday.
Well, we hope all of the riders stay upright today. We are less than a minute from today's start. The motorcycle has started, and the riders are all set. The masks are off, and they are going to rumble.
We've got 1 minute to go, and the motorbike's revving up, so everybody knows he's here.
We actually have 2 motorbikes, one to lead the riders and one to take some great pictures, some great photos, and to make us all able to see the broadcast of this race. We've had a great race up so far.
Here we go. We're off.
We are off. So as I started to say, we had a great race so far, and we are going to have a great race today as well. It will take, I believe, even longer for the riders to pass the starting line here at the Regional Council of Mate Asher.
And as you can see on your pictures and hear the noise, there's a lot more people. It's a Saturday, it's the day off. A lot of the riders, the local riders, have come up on their road bikes, mountain bikes, just to come and see what's going on here.
And I believe we'll even see more people coming here towards the end of the stage. It's like a little festival here.
It is. I saw before we were here, before the races were on the line, I saw the gravel club from Nimi Kimrod had a little secret picture taken under the clock. I think they were pretending they were starting the race. But it's nice to see other cyclists. It doesn't matter what you cycle, get out and cycle, come and have a look and taste the atmosphere here. It's amazing.
It is great to see, and the atmosphere is amazing. You just saw from the helicopter shot the amount of the riders. Some haven't crossed the start line, some are still haven't started moving already yet, and while riders are getting out.
I don't think I've seen scenes like this in a competitive race in Israel ever. It's so many riders.
It's amazing. Hundreds of riders, maybe 700 riders today.
I think we're up to 800. We didn't have 500 and we got 300 extra today.
Well, counts up to 800 riders today at the Regional Council of Mate Asher, who've been hosting us. Great.
We can say for 2 years now, kind of. It is really 3. It's the 3rd year running, but we missed one. It's a fabulous place to come and ride your bike and come and live. If you want to live with the wildlife, without traffic jams and high-rise buildings, this is the place to come and live.
It's a great place to live. You can have some a little bit of city life here. The big cities, Nahariya, Acre, Haifa is not too far as well. But you also have the countryside life.
And there's 2 train stations, one in Nairia, one in Akko. It's 10 minutes away from we are now. It's 10 minutes walk away. You can get on the train and commute to work.
That's great. And when you get on the train, you are in the center of the country, and you can get everywhere from there.
Now the riders are still coming through, and we're not seeing the end of them at all, are we? These are all fit amateur riders still coming through. It's not the back of the train at all.
I don't even think it's the one-day riders yet.
There is a different feeling. There's a lot of they're smiling. They're not apprehensive. Yesterday, they were very quiet. Everybody was thinking of what they got to do. They know they've done it. They've passed that hard, epic stage that we had yesterday. And today, it's like an easing of the pressure, isn't it?
It is an easing of the pressure. I hope they don't ease it too much, so we do get some good racing and everybody stays focused and on their bike.
Now I can just see in the one-day race, there's a few young riders just trying to get past, overtake. Look, they're waiting to go. You can come here as a 16-year-olds is the minimum age. You can see the kids now going past AGP riders. They want to get out and they want to show what they've got.
It's a great opportunity to show what you've got, to experience one of these events. Actually, you can't participate in the big event until you're over 18. So that's a good experience for the younger riders to get a feel of it, to get a taste, and maybe build up the expectations for the upcoming years.
Now the youngest riders today are 16, and the oldest rider I've been told who's taking part is 69.
Wow. Could be his grandfather.
Yep. And actually met before the broadcast, I met two not so little girls anymore, 16-year-old riders from IGP 899, Nor and Zohar. And they look so excited to start this race. They train with their teams. And I have to say in English, one of the teams is called the Valley of Happiness.
The Valley of Happiness.
That's the translation we gave it.
Well, Emek Osher.
Emek Osher. So let's give a shout out for them and good luck, girls.
Good luck. Now let's look a little bit into the results of yesterday's stage. We had some big changes in the more amateur categories. The professionals had pretty much the same result. In the Grandmasters category,
yeah, we had a little bit of a change in the lead there.
It was Ronen Chirizli and Vitali Frost who took the lead from Israel Chen and Gil Kashi, and now they're leading the overall by nearly 4 minutes.
That's a good. That is quite a big change, isn't it? But it's not the only change we saw. In the Masters, I think there was a bigger change.
In the Masters, there was even a bigger change. Angelo Di Veroli and Chaim Dehan had a bad day yesterday, and Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov were flying.
And they lost 14 minutes, didn't they?
Yeah, now Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov are leading Angelo and Chaim by 11 minutes. So unless they have unfortunate mistakes or technical issues, I think they were going to take the jersey home.
we saw a puncher, didn't we, for Angelo and Chaim in the beginning. That wouldn't have made the 14 minutes difference. But I think as we saw with the shots, I think the attrition and the tiredness was starting to affect Chaim. I mean, it's a long race. The end of the race is for 4 days. It's not after 1 or 2, is it?
It is after 4 days, and you want to take the jersey home after 4 days. The first jerseys do count, but they don't count for the overall victory. We can see groups are already forming on the roads on the way north towards Rosh Hanikra.
When we're going through the fields again, the avocado fields, we'll see avocados today, and we'll see a new fruit that Israel produces, the pomegranate.
Whoa.
And is that in Hebrew?
Eshkolit.
No.
Rimon.
Rimon.
Yes, excuse me.
It's a strange, and in the English word you don't use pomegranate very often.
Well, here it is, very common.
Well, we use it for Rosh Hashanah, the New Year, don't we?
We do.
You can also eat it all year long.
It's a great fruit to have.
Now, while we go north, I think we should quickly get in some of the things we want to talk about before the action starts. I think the action's going to, as soon as we go right, I think in Rosh Hanikra, like you said, there's already a selection in the front.
Are these the leaders? Looks like the German yellow jersey holders already formed a group of 3 riders.
But I can see white shirts there.
I can see white and I can see the turquoise of the Austrians.
Yeah.
So it looks like the Germans, the Israeli duo, the leading Israeli duo, and the Austrians are already in the front, and the Germans are never resting.
And we have something like 7 or 8 riders. There's 4 groups chasing on the back on there. Not too far away.
Looks like George Egger is leading the pace. I thought they would settle back today. Maybe the Spaniards?
There's only one Austrian there. You can see the last rider, that's the Austrian turquoise color.
I also see only one Spaniard.
And so maybe a bit of tactics going on here. Generally, your weaker riders should follow, and then the stronger, like you see, the Spanish just lifting off his pedals a little bit. Oh, they're taking the corner. And then the stronger rider could sprint on from behind and get back on. You don't want to leave your weaker rider behind you.
No, you don't, but I don't think you want to leave anyone behind right now because the Germans are up the front, and I think this is great news for the Israeli duo because if the Spaniards don't make it back, the Israeli duo did lose the third place yesterday, and if they can stay on the front, keep on the pace, open a big gap, they can go on the podium today.
Well, it's the Israelis have an interest to help out with the pulling to make the gap larger at the moment.
They do, and maybe we'll see them up there soon when they understand the situation.
But that's easy to say, but we're not there. But I mean, when you're traveling this fast, it's easy to say go and pull on the front. It's not easy at all.
It's never easy when George Egger is setting the pace. So reminding you of the men's result here, we can see confirmation of that. George Egger and Lucas Baum on the front. Behind them, Nadav Reisberg and Guy Niv. And behind them, we can see there's a little gap. So it means the Spaniard and the Austrian, we don't know exactly which one of that duo is there.
If we can just get a shot backwards, we had to see if they've realized, no, they're sitting on.
They're sitting on, they're hoping maybe their companions will join them.
Yep.
Lucas Baum is on the front, setting the pace. Are they ever tired?
I don't know. I think I'm tired here just watching this. I mean, this is an example of power riding, isn't it? That's a power ride at the moment.
It is, and they haven't waited. 8 minutes into today's race, we already have a selection, and we may only have 2 duos up the front.
I'd like to find out what they ate in the morning for breakfast.
I want some of that too. So again, they're switching turns. George Egger is now back at the front, and they're not slowing down. It's not good news for the Austrians and the Spaniards. It is good news for the Israelis.
Well, at the moment, it might be okay, but no, I mean,
that's the e-bike guy behind.
That's a big gap already. I think the Spanish and the Austrians should start looking over their shoulders to see where they are, because it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. What you're going to do? You're going to sit up in the end and wait for them.
I think the better idea for them would be go back to your partner and start chasing as fast as you can, because on your own it's harder to chase.
Of course. Unfortunately, we haven't got a second camera on the second group, but you can see we're doing maybe 35 k's an hour down this path, aren't we?
I think they're flying down here. And let's go back to the results of the men to understand what's going on here. So in the GC, George Egger and Lucas Baum are leading by a big gap. They have a 7-minute gap over Gregor Ragel and Karl Marx. So they're not in danger. It looks like the yellow jersey is pretty safe with them. So they just want to win everything. That's what it comes from, I guess.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the time of the Israelis. They are potentially 10 minutes down on the Austrians in second.
They're even 11 minutes, but they're only 4.5 minutes behind the Spaniards.
Now the Israelis want to push on here. I mean, they can if you make the gap, and the Austrian, the Spanish rider has to drop back. The gap's going to be made. They're not coming back. Maybe they can make up the 10 minutes.
Well, 10 minutes may be a little big of an ask, especially against the Austrians, who we saw are very strong even when they ride on their own. They were the only riders who got close to the Germans in all of the other stages. But today, 4.5 minutes is still a big gap to close from the Spaniards, but with the pace that the Germans are setting now, if they start working right from the beginning, they can close a 4.5 minute gap.
Well, again, as we talked yesterday, they have to go over the timing match, don't they, together within
2 minutes.
Within 2 minutes. So it'd be interesting to find out later on where that mat is. And at that point, the Spanish and the Austrians will have to sit up and wait.
They will have to wait before the mat, we'll remind you. And the mats are usually at the feed zones. Here, as we can see some more views of the strong master riders, the strong men amateur riders.
I don't like calling them amateurs. They're pros. They just have a full-time job.
They are pros that have 2 professions maybe.
And a wife and kids at home that's asking them where they are all the time.
And maybe watching us, and we all enjoy you watching us and joining these beautiful views of Bara Epic Israel, as we are getting some more shots from our helicopter via his live view unit. Every cameraman here has a live view unit on him that allows us to get the broadcast. It connects to their camera if it's a GoPro, if it's a regular camera, and it sends it back to the village right here, and then we can see it, and you can see it as well at home. As we can see, Nadav Reisberg is looking to go up the front and maybe help the Germans with the pace.
Well, that's what we're talking about. It's in the Israelis' interest to push ahead.
And we are 64.6 kilometers from home, so there is still lots of racing to do, but already big gaps are forming. And let's go a little bit more, a little backwards in the results. Just want to talk about them. It's Elia Daniel and Gili Gonen, who are 5th overall. Pretty safe in their place, pretty far from 4th and pretty far from 6th, which are the Czech duo Milan Damic and Jan Jovanik. A great ride for these guys. We saw lots of them yesterday. They're just having a great race, aren't they?
They are. They're very solid. They're very consistent. I don't think they've had any problems at all the race long.
I think solid is a good way of putting it.
While we have a bit of time looking at the amateurs here, I went round the Shimano and the Joe's tent again because I was interested to see if we had more problems. The Shimano mechanics have stopped talking about beer and all they want is coffee at the moment. They're running on empty. They did triple the amount of repairs yesterday.
Wow.
And Joe's wanted to give me some numbers. I want to put them out there. 15 litres of tire sealant they put in yesterday, 6 litres of oil on chains, and 35 litres of biodegradable degreaser on the bikes.
That is outstanding.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, they're working almost 24. I was going to say 24 hours. It's not. They do sleep for 6 hours. But the Shimano Manics have been working all night, and you'll see them in the food stations giving more and more assistance.
That's just no rest for these guys. It's amazing the amount of support riders get here. The pro riders, and even the pro riders who have another profession, as we call them now. You all feel like a professional here at Bara Epic Israel. And we still have the Austrian and the Spaniard at the front, not looking back, not waiting. Maybe they know something.
Maybe, quite often last day, maybe their partner, again, as we saw on the first day, they can't open his engine up so early in the race. Maybe they know that. Maybe they'd agreed that he'd wait at a certain point, he wouldn't go far too forward, and he's just waiting for him to open up maybe.
And do you think 1 or 2 riders can close these 2 flying Germans?
No, they've gone.
They are gone. And we saw that when they go, no one can bring them back. You must stay on that train.
Now, talking about trains, there was a train we talked about it a couple of days ago, from Cairo to Beirut. This is the line they're going on, and I think the train is back.
The train is back. And if you mentioned that train, actually, did you know how they built it?
Probably very hard, actually, wasn't it, digging in the rock?
It was in the British Mandate times, and they did it in 1 year. It was during World War II. They used it mostly for military use because they wanted to bring, I guess, army supplies. And in order to do so, they brought workers from all over the world. They brought Australian, New Zealand, and South African workers to build that tunnel of the train.
The British always know how to use the colonies for their work, for their better.
Well, they do. And it is a 200-meter long tunnel, so it's not short, especially back in the day. We just saw the leaders of the mixed category with the leaders of the master category, both in the top 10 overall. It was Shlomi Chaimi and Omer Shapira. Behind them were Noam Strashnov and Yuval Friedman. We're getting some views from our Isracopter helicopter.
I'd just like to give another shout out for some more of the sponsors here that we don't see. You don't see them normally, but they're here. They're supporting the bicycle racing. They're family businesses. One of them is Rudy Project.
A great business.
Yes, I met the owner just a minute ago. They have a sunglass. He was more interested not talking about his business, but about his sunglasses, conscription. If you need medical sunglasses, he can do it for you on the spot.
Prescription.
It's hard for me to say that, I'm sorry. But Gal was telling me that when he had this vision to start up the Epic, Trek and Rudy were on board before there was actually anything on the ground at all. They saw the vision and they went with him.
Well, I'm sure Rudy is good with helping envision.
Yeah, but these 2 companies, they put so much back into our sport, family-run businesses, and it's just nice to see that the money isn't going out of the sport.
It's great to see the support we get from both Rudy, Trek, and all of the other sponsors and partners, we should call them in this race. There are less sponsors, there are more partners. Everyone gives a hand. Everyone helps to make this Bara Epic Israel a great experience. So we were talking about the overall results, and let's take you through the other results. So 6th overall, or the Czech duo Milan Damic and Jan Jovanik, and 7th, with a great ride yesterday, are Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov, the leaders of the Masters category. So they were somewhere in the top 10. they took the master leader jersey yesterday. They went up to 7th place. That's outstanding.
7th overall is great. Yeah. I mean, they were so smooth, weren't they? There was no drama. They didn't. I don't think they sprinted off the front. They just kept the pace high all day long, and that did the work. Often in these races, it's people falling off the back. Here we can see the Austrian and the Spanish guy. This is the first two. That's right. They've decided no, we can't go any further with that. Our partners aren't with us, and they've let them go. That's it. They've gone.
They've gone. The Germans and the Israelis are at the front, and the Austrians and the Spaniards are going to have a tough day today.
They're going to have to work on the front now instead of sitting on the back. We were saying in previous days, it's always good to sit on the back of the peloton and get sucked along, rather than having to work on the front second peloton.
Especially when the peloton is led by George Egger and Lucas Baum, and they're not waiting for anyone, and there are no discounts today.
Now, if I was Shlomi and Omer and the top and the Masters riders waiting, seeing the power that's coming back to help them along, I'll be so happy.
Well, I'm not sure they'll go all the way back. I don't know where their partners are. They may be in the middle, they may be with them, but if they are there, I would absolutely be. It will be brilliant for them.
It's like having a new train engine on the front for you.
It's like car pacing. And Nadav Reisberg and Guy Neve know they must stay on these wheels.
And you can see Guy there sprinting to stay on just after the turn every time.
Because this could be outstanding for these guys. They could go back to 3rd place.
What's the difference? They have to get to 3rd.
So it's 4.5 minutes. But at the pace that they're going, it's possible. You see how big the gap is already.
I mean, yeah, we can see on this race everything's possible. It's something big and bombastic. Everything is possible on this race.
Everything is possible, especially with technical issues, who we hope Guy Neve and Nadav Reisberg won't have today. They had them every day up till now, which is very unfortunate. So we hope they manage to stay away with that.
And you can see Guy just looking back there, seeing what's going on.
And except for the technical issues, they had great rides. So it was mostly the technical issues which were setting them back.
That's right. You get affected. I mean, Guy got his gears stuck in a hard gear. We call it a low gear, a high gear. Sorry. It means all those climbs you would normally go down the gears. He couldn't. He was stuck. He had to power his way through the climbs on the second day.
Yes, which was very hard. Yesterday they had a bad flat tire. They lost a few minutes there, and now they are at the front, and we hope they stay there. Great ride for these guys. You see Nadav Reisberg doesn't want to give an inch for the Germans. He wants to stay as close as possible as Lucas Baum and George Egger are taking turns.
That's right. It'll be interesting to see if the Israelis come through. I don't think Guy will come through.
Here are Tom Itzhaki and Roy Kapach from the TCH team.
The camera loves them, doesn't it? They come up every day.
They come up every day. And they also have, you can see the GoPro on Roy Kapach on the back over there. He uploads all of his videos at the end of every day. Actually, they are 16th place overall, so it's pretty good for them as well.
It's a top ride. Here we go. They come back. The Austrians, they say, look.
So it was the Austrians, the Spaniards, and the Czech riders.
And the second Austria is having another slow start to the day, I think we noticed there.
I think Charlie's a little tired coming into this race.
I'm tired, just sitting here with you.
So here we have our cameraman. It looks like Amnon on their back. Just giving us some great feed of these guys. So at the back are the Czech duo we saw over there again. Karl Mark to the back. So there's some talking between the Germans and the Israelis. I'm not sure they're happy with this going on, with the Israelis not helping.
Yeah,
Maybe
they're probably
slowing back a
looking.
little bit?
Yeah, they're probably looking. Come on, guys, give us a hand. It's in your interest too here. I think the Israelis are thinking on taking the win today.
I think we talked about it actually before the race, before it went on air. And I think today is a great chance for the Israelis. They had problems. They showed that they're strong, and they want it. They want it really, really bad.
Okay, we can see here now the Austrians, the Spanish, and the Czechs all together.
It looks like a 30-second or so gap.
It's a six-man group. They should all pull now. I mean, all of them should give it a bit. You can see, look, open mouth already, a little incline. He's not liking it, is he?
He's not liking it. 20 minutes into this race, and they are on their edges.
It's going to be a sufferfest, I think, today.
It is going to be a sufferfest, a short, fast sufferfest, and Gregor Ragel is getting on his handlebars as aero as possible. So we see the gap seems to be a minute and a half. That's a big gap to open in 20 minutes of racing.
And we haven't even hit the single on the climb.
We haven't hit a thing yet. We will. It
On-
will be flat till Rosh Hanikra, and then we'll start climbing, won't we?
Yes, and on the climb, climbing in a single, there's nowhere to hide. If you're tired, you're just going to go back. You don't literally go backwards, obviously, but the time gap is going to open up, and that's where the gap's going to grow.
It's even harder to climb in a single track, as we are 58.4 kilometers with 58.4 kilometers left.
And you can see the bananas on the left and the avocados on the right again.
And we see Guy Neve sprinting on the back.
Again, yeah.
Well, they're not slowing after each corner, and that makes Guy Neve and Nada Weisberg have to. They just have to sprint if they want to stay on their wheel, and they really want to stay on that wheel.
We talked a couple of days ago about being when the dog wags his tail. I think Guy now is the tail, and he's been wagged quite a lot at the moment.
He is being wagged, but it's a great place to be wagged at.
No, I mean, everybody's suffering, but when you know you're in the front and you're there, you've made the selection, you look back and all the rest of your competitors are suffering more than you, the pain goes away.
It gives you a great boost of motivation as they're making their way in the bananas today.
We just saw a little an owl box there. The farmers, to deal with the rats, there's a lot of rats obviously, they don't want to put poison down anymore, so they put owl boxes up to encourage owls to come and catch the rats for them. Apparently an owl can catch 30 rats in a week.
Wow, that's some good work for the owls. I think the gap is less than 1.5 minutes. Looks like maybe they're not going in the bananas yet.
God.
So just hard to get pretty similar roads here. So we were talking about the bananas. We're actually getting these bananas here from the Galil.
Isn't that fantastic, that picture, eh? And
It-
the bananas are in the blue sacks. They protect them.
They are in the blue sacks. And these bananas are very tasty. We're getting them here. Just had a couple this morning.
We got some delivered. And guys out there, the shakes, we'd like another shake, please. We had one yesterday. It was fantastic.
It was fantastic. And actually, did you know how they grow banana trees?
I don't. My friend Itai grows them. I have to say, he does tell me a lot of things while we're riding, and my ears do go off sometimes because he gets a bit bored. It goes on quite a lot. But I know there's only one genetical plant, which is called Cavendish, I think.
Yeah, it is called the Cavendish thing. I actually forgot that as well. So they have to take that, like the little part of the plant, and they grow it to make tens of trees.
That's right, and that's the problem with the bananas at the moment. There is, Itai's going to kill me for messing this up, but there is a virus or a fungus that's coming up from Africa that will kills off the plants, and because it's only they don't have much genetic difference. It will. The farmers are very scared if it gets in their fields, they're going to have to destroy all the plants.
That is problematic to have the same genom.
So messing up all that explanation, you'll see that out of these fields they have car dips, but the cars have to go through disinfection before they go into the fields.
Wow, that's interesting to know. And now we can see the second group, the chasing group, into the bananas. We saw that the Germans aren't really happy with the Israelis. They're sprinting out of each corner, and we saw Guy Neve has to work very, very hard in order to stay on that back wheel.
Well, if the Israelis aren't giving them a hand at all, why pull them along?
No reason for them. Looks like they're up for another stage win. Well, they want another stage win. That's what it looks like. Well, today we're heading north, and north of the race village is one of the biggest towns of the area, which is Naharia. And let me tell you a few things about Naharia. First of all, it's named after the river at the middle. I guess everyone knows. It's the Gaaton River that goes through it. And you have many archaeological sites around the city. There are remnants from a temple from the Bronze Age, which is approximately from 3000 BCE, so 5,000 years old, which is old. And there's also remnants of an ancient Roman road that was built there in 56 BCE, which was leading from Turkey.
You know, wherever the Romans went, they built roads. You can see them. I know where the epic was. The epic was in the beginning. There's a Roman road up there. You can still see it today. The stones. They were fantastic engineers. If you see, you see a very straight, long, old road. That's a Roman road. They like to go straight.
Well, going straight is the easiest way going. And another family that grew in Nahariya is the Strauss family. They started their first factory in Nahariya. They later on grew into the company that we know. It's the biggest food industry in Israel. They're active in over 30 countries, which is a lot. And the Strauss family and Raya Strauss has founded the Treasures of the Galilee, who helped bringing Epic Israel to the Western Galilee, and we thank them very much for that.
I think they're one of the biggest families supporting the North. They grew up in the North, and they put money back into the North, into the communities. It's great to see.
It is great to see. And Raya Strauss, we saw a little incident there with the car, and Guy Niva is now at the front. Are they trying to attack the Germans? Are they upset with what the Germans are doing to them?
We're going to have to see if they've just agreed to start working together, or we've got a little bit of, as we say in English, argy-bargy.
Maybe they are argy-barging between themselves. So talking about the Strauss family, Raya Strauss in particular, so she believes that the Western Galilee is a great place for bike rides, for people to come, for tourists, for tourism. So she wants to bring the Epic Israel here. She, I believe, also brought Saxo Bank team here back in the day.
Into Jerusalem, I remember, I was there.
It was a great thing to see.
That was about the Contador.
It was Alberto Contador and some other great riders. Roman Kreuziger, I suppose, is a big helper. Domestique back in the day.
Now another person, a very important person in the North, I like to say, was Steph. He's still alive. He's 95 today. Steph Venmine. He started off in a little factory in his house in the backyard of Nairia. A little, it was a lathe. He's a metal worker, and he turned it into Tefin. Tefin is an industrial site up in the north here. It's a company that is a multi-country company today. He grew it from nothing into a business that Warren Buffett came and bought him.
Wow.
And his son now runs the family, and he supports a lot of industry up here, and gives a lot of jobs to the north.
Well, it's nice to see all those families growing up in the north and managing to bring back to the north, if it's the Tefin industries, and if it's the Strauss family who's trying to bring tourism and cycling back to the north to make the north more lively. And here we can see riders struggling there, going up and under.
What we can still see here is the Austrians are still on the front working. We haven't seen the Spanish given a hand yet, have we?
Well, they're even more tired than the Austrians, I suppose. So the Israelis did have one turn on the front, half turn, half attack. Well, it wasn't sure exactly what it was, because it seemed like it was.
It's calmed down again a little bit.
And now the Germans are taking turns again at the front. They're just nothing upsets their pace. Even yesterday when we saw the Austrians with them working, and maybe one Austrian going a little bit forwards, the other one staying in the back, nothing upsets their pace. They just keep on riding their pace like a machine.
Well, that's the great thing about being the leaders, and they know what they've got on their legs, they know their bodies so well, and it's for the others to beat them now, and they know that.
So you can see some great trust there between Karl Mark maybe trying to get the gap to the front, him going on the handlebar in the time trial position. Behind him, Gregor Rogel, he was at the time trial position as well. So no breaks for both of them. Shows how much trust they had and they have between them. Well, they are training and racing together for a while. We're back with the leaders, and throughout every corner that fourth rider is suffering. Usually Guy Niv maybe struggling with off-road cornering here.
Well, he's told us he's forgotten. He grew up on Misgav mountain bike trails. They are one of the most technical trails in the country, but for 6 or 7 years now he's been riding on the road. Maybe he's forgotten.
Well, Misgav is a great place to have sports, as you say, to have a big cycling club. We've been talking about it. Actually, people in Misgav, 76% of the residents are doing sports activities in Misgav, so that's a big amount.
It's an amazing, people come to live there from the center to Misgav. I live in Misgav. It's small communities. They have a lot of community spirit together, a lot of holidays they have together, a lot of organizations. Kids are together, and literally you can leave your back door with your bike and go into the forest.
There's nothing better than that. Actually, another little fact about Misgav, if you'd like. So there is one of the biggest collections of openers in Misgav, bottle openers. I think there used to be a museum. It may have had struggles through the Corona times, but it has over 4,500 openers.
If they all opened a bottle,
I suppose.
that's a lot of bottles to open.
Many bottles. You can have a party there, open many bottles simultaneously with no wait.
But people collect funniest of things, you know. I know a man who collects pens. He has more than 10,000 different pens.
10,000 pens.
None of them are the same.
Wow.
And people know if they come to see him with a pen, any pen. If he can spot it, if he spots he hasn't got it, he'll take it off you.
Well, he can make a museum out of it as well.
He's already been in the papers. He's quite an old guy. He's about 90 now.
Wow. I actually know people who also like to collect statues of animals, such as hens or chickens.
That's right. They often do. Chickens or fish. They have little. It can overtake them. And the problem is your family cotton on, and then your family bring you more and more and more.
Every time you go abroad, you must bring a little chicken. And we see Shlomi Chaimi. I don't know what he's doing over there, playing with his tire, just relaxing on his handlebar, the head down behind him.
I mean, a lot of the rhino. This is the path to the singles. This is just a job they've got to do and pump and keep up the tempo up, keep it up until they get into the single. And the peloton has got a lot bigger here, hasn't it? I think a lot of the riders have come up from behind and joined them.
Yes, and it's Aviv Dahan and Jonathan Baron over there from Team NCC Scott on the front.
Also, sorry, the amateurs come up, they see Shlomi, a double Olympian, and they think, well, let's just sit on his wheel.
It is a great wheel to follow, isn't it? Talking about Jonathan Baron and Aviv Dahan. They are 15th in their category and 22nd overall. Pretty solid for these guys.
I mean, let's also not forget that there are 800 competitors out there. We're only seeing maybe the top 50, aren't we, on our screens? They're all over the tracks. They're all over the pass. And the last one is going to come over quite a long time after the leaders.
Well, I heard the briefing today. The cutoff time is just over 6 hours. So they have a long time to do this 72-kilometer route.
I'd just like to put out a shout out to a very personal friend of mine, Uzi Galili. He's riding with his partner in the day, in the doubles today. He's 62 years old.
Very impressive.
He got into cycling 20 years ago, isn't it, Pepe? And he's alive. For 20 years, he hasn't stopped riding his bike.
That's amazing.
And I think it just shows you at 61 years old, he doesn't go to the doctor. The only place he goes to is the bike shop. Well, that's because he works there.
So all he needs to fix is his bike, which is great to hear. It's hard to understand what's going on over there. Maybe one of the Germans having a technical issue?
Do you think they've missed the... Yeah, there's a bit of confusion where the track is. Look at it.
Keep going, keep going.
Will the Israelis take advantage of that, or will it piss the Germans off even more?
Again, we saw it yesterday. You put your head down, you put the power on, you might not see the turn when it comes. I think that's what's happened here.
Here we're getting a replay of that. Oh, it's Guy Niv.
Guy Niv saw it. You see the back rider had time to look, and the front one's at the head down.
So it's Guy Niv, Lucas Baum and Nadav Reisberg up the front. George Egger just kept on going straight.
Although you can see the signs. The
sign is clear. So I guess he put his head down, didn't see a thing. And now George Egger has to chase.
That's the problem when you have 30 Ks or so to do, flat 40 Ks. You get into a zone, and then you're not thinking about the turn so much.
You don't, and now you see the Israelis are at the front. Will they try and get away?
And you can see here, this is Exif Beach.
It is beautiful, isn't it?
It's wonderful. Divers love coming here. There's lots of diving zones, diving places you can go here. Scuba diving, of course.
And here you see George Egger is making his way back easily. They're just so strong. It doesn't affect them.
Yeah, but it takes a little bit out. He had to sprint on there for a couple of 100 meters.
Well, I still didn't see anyone challenging them, so I think they're fine.
We're going to see a little bit later, aren't we, when they go into the singles, what's going to happen.
I hope Guy Niv and Nadav Reisberg manage to challenge these guys today. As we see Nadav Reisberg on the back, Guy Niv on the front, George Egger behind him, and then Lucas Baum. I think he's one of the surprises for me on the in this race, because he came out with no results. He told us he only started racing on February, started practicing in February this year. Did a couple of road races, and he's in the lead of this Bara Epic Israel, riding phenomenally, helping George Egger, not just sitting on his wheel. First of all, he's managing to hold with him. Second of all, he is managing to pull him and help him increase their lead every day out.
I mean, And you say he started only. When did he start cycling them?
Well, that's another question we should ask him, but I believe he's been cycling for a while.
I would imagine because these we call them lifetime athletes. They have a memory, don't they? They can take a little time off and come back quite quickly. Talking about the sheikhs have arrived.
And they are great shakes that we get here from Galil. Talking about Lucas Baum, here he is over there. A great ride from this guy. I'm very impressed.
I mean, just look at it. He's so cool, calm, collected. He's not even sweating. It's amazing.
It looks like he's been a pro forever with this ride as Greg Ragel goes up the front there also on the Aksiv beach over there.
That's right.
The gap isn't too big.
No, maybe a minute.
Could they close it?
I don't think they got time now. Maybe they have still. They're going to have to put in a lot of effort to close, and then they're going to have to climb the single track upwards. That's going to take a lot out of them.
Well, their advantage now is they may see the Germans in front of them. We're hoping maybe to get a view of that soon. But if they can see the Germans in front of them, there will be a huge boost of motivation.
But I'd say there was a reason they're behind. Is the second rider is a little bit tired than the first rider. So the matches have been burned. How many matches do you want to burn now before you go into a climb in the single?
That's a big question, but making it back to the Germans is, I think, a match is well burned. Because we did see that Karl Mark does take time to start off, but when he does, he starts off very. He's strong. He's a strong rider.
Yes, we saw that in the first long stage. He didn't look too good, but yesterday actually smashed it out of the park, didn't he?
Yeah, he was great. They were the only duo that could hold on to the Germans until they decided they want to ride on their own.
You can see here, this is the border of, up on the top there, that's the border of Israel with Lebanon. The left-hand side is Rosh Hashanah. You can see the white rocks, the caves there that you can go around. There's a cable car that will take you down as well, and you can go walk through them.
I think when you go down, you go through a tunnel. There's a cable car that goes up, isn't there?
I went about 20 years ago with my kids, so memory's not so good.
Well, actually, you couldn't always go down with the tunnel. Back at the day, before 1968, let's say, when the tunnels were built, you had to go down through the sea, so you would have to dive. And it's pretty dangerous because the water there is pretty strong on the rocks. It wasn't a safe approach. And now, if you want, you can just visit, go through a 400-meter long cave, and walk into the beautiful caves.
Now, I have a friend who does sea kayaking, and they belong to a club. His club can get permission from the army and the border army to go in with their kayaks, to actually go inside with their kayaks.
That sounds amazing.
I mean, I want to join his club, I think.
I think everyone now wants to join his club. Gregor Ragel is setting the pace on the front. He is working.
He's having to work, isn't he? He knows what he's got to do. He's not complaining, not looking around, asking for any help from anybody.
He's not. He knows the race is on and he wants to close the gap.
And as we go up here, we can see all the Saturday riders out. This is a wonderful place to come and ride your bike. It's flat. You can ride from Rosh Hashanah to Nairia, have a coffee, have an ice cream, and come back again. It's lovely.
It is lovely, as we're getting some lovely images from our Isracopter helicopter.
That's under the road Nachal Ekziv. In the winter it runs. The guys with jeeps try and go through over that asphalt road there to test how they can go through the water. Some of them get stuck, and it's quite good fun to watch.
I'm pretty sure that's where Yam Eliam starts. Or ends, depends where you want, going to the Kruziv stream.
We're looking at Betsid Beach here. This is the free beach. The sand, you can see the sand dunes down there. There's a lot of, I wanted to talk about the wildlife. There's a lot of sea turtles that live in the sea here. The Israeli Wildlife Service started a project up in the late 80s and 90s to protect them. They're now sea turtle rangers in the breeding season, get up early in the morning and walk along the beaches looking for signs of turtles coming to lay their eggs. They find them, take the eggs out and move them to a protected area so we can help the turtles reproduce.
I understand that the turtles lay their egg on the beach and then the eggs stay there, and when the little turtles come out, they run to the beach. Not all of them survive, and I understand this run isn't always safe as well, isn't it?
Well, that's right. That's why there are rangers are trying to help them out a little bit there. An interesting fact is that a turtle that's born on Betsit Beach here somehow knows to come back here to reproduce. I don't know how they do it, but they know years later to come back to the same beach.
That's outstanding.
And it's nice to see us helping the wildlife, you know, not just hurting the wildlife.
Well, we are hurting it, and I think we owe it a little help.
We need to give a bit back.
We absolutely do. As we can see the leaders, the Germans and the Israelis on their case, getting into Rosh Hanikra site. So talking about wildlife, actually there used to be seals in the area.
I haven't seen one of those. I have seen turtles while kayaking there in the sea. That's I've never seen a seal there.
Well, in recent years they're not, haven't been there obviously, but there have been reports, not necessarily true, of people seeing seals. People like to make up reports sometimes or imagine things.
And the stories get better as they go along, don't they?
They do.
But dolphins, I've seen dolphins, that's for sure. We do have dolphins in the sea out here.
We do have dolphins throughout the whole shore, maybe even to the south sometimes. Even sharks pay a visit.
But they're not dangerous. I know kids get worried. I often hear there's sharks. Hey guys, they're little sharks. There's nothing big. There's no jaws around here.
I think there's a gap opening up between the Germans and the Israelis. It looks like Nadav Reisberg is on the back. He's trying to close the gap as George Egger is setting a very strong pace. And here we can see the height graph for today's stage. So it is, as we said, 72 kilometers long. We're having a climb. After about 25 kilometers of the stage, we'll climb up to 250 meters. And overall, we'll accumulate a total ascent of 780 meters. And Nadav Reisberg seems to be back with the front group. Maybe just a little mistake there.
Yeah, because we saw him was very strong just a minute ago. You don't suddenly, when you start of a race like this, just go bad. You can see is that Yuval?
Number 2, I think it's Noam. Not sure.
Sorry. We can see the top amateurs. They're under 40s in the front with the over 40s, and the peloton is moving along at a nice pace.
Well, Yuval and Noam are just so strong. They used to ride with the men's.
With the classy riders, they were stuck. They'd always, because they were young, up until, if you're up to 40 years old, you are in the men's category, which includes the UCI riders as well. And
when you ride with these riders, you have to be strong.
And it's one of the sports that people can't wait to turn 40 and 50, because they can move up a little bit. They actually think it's easier, the 40 category, but it's not. It's much more competitive.
Well, the 40-year-old people do have 2 professions, but they are very, very strong. We see a rider with his
with one leg in and pedaling with only one pedal for some reason.
Well, if he can, maybe he's just resting one leg.
Well, maybe that's right. Maybe if he had a problem, he'd stop, wouldn't he, at this stage? But he's not going to get very far pedaling with one leg.
Well, he's still with that group, and it's a pretty strong group up the front.
Maybe he's feeling his little tingles in his right leg, and he's getting a bit of a rest. Just before we hit the singles, hang on, we got the Germans just. Look, I think this is biting a little bit.
I think they're making a gap. The gap grows.
No, look, we can see them stopping. They didn't stop yesterday. Do you remember in the first lead station? It's only 44 minutes in, and they've already taken a bottle.
And Nadav Reisberg is still suffering a little bit. The gap is still there. He closes it and opens it. It's like a little ping pong over there. But we hope they can stay at the front group.
If we can just talk a little bit, how can people get into riding these kind of events? What would you say?
Well,
for young people, let's start with the youngsters. How could they start riding these events?
Well, first of all, let's talk about starting to ride. Nowadays, many places in Israel, many towns in Israel have little bike groups where you can join.
They have kids clubs, don't they?
Yeah, they have kids clubs.
And professional coaches as well, we have to say.
Very professional coaches who are riders themselves, and you can join those clubs and ride once or twice a week.
With no pressure.
No pressure. I remember me as a little kid waiting for this once or twice a week, the whole week.
It's certainly not. It doesn't have to be competitive at all, does it?
It doesn't have to be competitive, but they do want you to go to races. They offer you at least to go to races, as we see some riders from a gravel club cheering here, Karl Mark and Gregor Rago.
And they were here before taking pictures under the start gate. I think they're sending them off saying to their friends, claiming they rode the race.
Now they can take pictures. Maybe they can take a picture of the Czech duo saying, hey, we've been holding with these guys.
And this is the border of Israel, isn't it, with Lebanon. The Rosh Hanikra passing.
Well, we see some great sights here at Rosh Hanikra passing. Well, talking about Rosh Hanikra, do you know how it was created?
I have no idea.
Well, there's the story and there's the truth. But let's start with the story. Well, the story says, or the legend says, that when Alexander the Great was on his way to Egypt in 333 BCE, he wanted his ships, his navy, his fleet to go over there. So he ordered them to do the caves because it bothered him. It bothered his ships. Excuse me. But actually, it's not true. It was naturally created.
We can see a big peloton of the masters and the top amateur 30-year-olds also. Everybody's looking at each other at the moment.
Everyone is together. I guess the single tracks will be the
Well,
part that make the difference.
That's the selection. And again, now talking how to get started, also older riders can get started as well. And I've met some coaches that actually specifically teach older riders how to ride the bike for the first time.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame they didn't look as kids, because if you teach a kid how to ride a bike, it's like teaching a child how to swim.
It is always easier to learn as a younger rider. But there are also clubs for older people, as you said. There are big clubs who do Saturday rides, Friday ride, where you can join and just have a nice ride in your weekend. If it's off-road, if it's on-road, there are clubs all over the country that you can join.
And you don't have to join. It can be quite intimidating joining, seeing all these super fit riders and you just starting, having to hang on. But they're clubs, and they have the groups that won't drop anybody on the road at all.
Yeah, and they have different levels. If it's on the road, they have a car behind them, making it safe. If it's off-road, they have professional coaches who will teach you. We see Karl Marx is setting now the pace. Gregor Rogel is on his case, and so are the Spaniards. But Karl Marx seems like he turned on.
And you can see he's riding with his mouth wide open, trying to get the maximum amount of oxygen in there.
He is, and I wonder if Guy Nieve and Nadav Reisberg are still with the leading German duo. I hope we'll see them soon. Actually, we can also talk about the name Rosh Hanikra. So, as we talked about the name, the origin of the name of Acre. So, it's actually, you have the Arabic name and the Hebrew name. So, the Arabic name is Ras Anakura, which is the head of Nakura. And the Hebrew name, Rosh Hanikra, actually comes from the caves, from the caverns over there.
But Rosh is also in Hebrew is head.
It is head, but it comes from the caverns. Caverns, excuse me. And thank you for that. And so it's very similar. Here we can see the Czech duo. I think they were dropped from the Austrians and the Spaniards.
I think they tried to hang on a little bit too long, and now there's recovery time, a couple of minutes just to catch yourself again.
It is recovery time, and they will have to recover after. It was a fast start here today. So anyway, you have two similar names with a little bit of a different meaning. But that way, everyone can know what you're talking about. You can talk to an Arabic person or to an Israeli person, and you'll understand each other, which is always great.
I think you can see the effect with the riders, the accumulated effect of the racing up until now with these small climbs. The pace yesterday and the day before was a lot higher. They had more energy. Today, they can feel, as a racer, the last day you're feeling a little bit flat. You don't have that top end. You can't get out. It's harder to get out of the saddle and make that sprint. There is a level that you can keep, and you should try and just hold that high tempo. If you go over it, there's just nothing there, is it? You turn into like a diesel car.
It is harder in the final day, but it's harder for everyone, and that's what I would always like to tell to myself. I'm not the only one who raced for all this time. As Karl Marx is grinding his way up this climb, you can see him working with all of his body. Gregor Rogel behind him. Looks like they may be able to make a little gap from the Spaniards, but they're still back in there. Actually, they kind of know this stage. It's pretty similar to the final stage on the previous edition. But I'm not sure they recognize, because I'm not sure they were so conscious then, and I'm not sure they're so conscious now.
The only thing they're looking at at the moment is the gravel on the road and maybe the next couple of meters ahead of them. I mean, if they look to the right, they'd see the wonderful view, wouldn't they? Because they're going up the hill there.
They would, and talking about looking at the gravel on the road, you see now they're looking back to see if they can make the gap from the Spaniards and keep on working. It will give them a big boost of motivation.
Also to see if is it worth them while to put in this effort in.
Well, they want to get away from them. And again, talking about looking down on the road, many riders look down on climbs, down on the road, on the gravel just ahead of them. What do you think about that?
The faster you go, the further you have to look forward. It reduces your reaction time. If you're only looking at your wheel, you've got no time to react and you'll be off.
Absolutely, so it is more dangerous, and sometimes it helps you mentally to look forward and maybe to mark a point. I'm getting there, I'm getting there, I'm getting there, to divide the climb into little sections.
Well, that's right. Oh, so yes, and that effect, you mentally, you break it up into little segments. And you think, well, how am I going to go up that hill? But all I have to get up to is that bend. All I have to get up to is the next bend. And in the end, you'll be up.
Exactly, and now we can see Omer Shapira and Shlomi Chaimi going through that feed zone. With looks like a Guy Kaftori maybe, and here is still Shlomi Chaimi.
You You can see Shlomo almost has carried on, hasn't he? And he's collecting and he'll bring back the water and the food there.
Well, that's been the tactic throughout the whole race. You can see now Yuval Tzachor and Tom Yitzchaki from the TCH team. Just getting some stuff, some water, I guess, in his bottle.
No, when we come to the single track coming down from Hanita, it's very technical. At the beginning is windy, it's under the trees, but then it opens up and there's a lot of loose over hard surface. You have to look ahead. You cannot look down what you're actually going to hit at that second. If you do that, you're going to be off. You have to have time to realize where you want to put your front wheel.
It is important. It's very important in these guys' speeds, and it's important for every rider who goes on the tracks here. And in general, it's better to look ahead, to know the surface that you're going, examine everything that you're approaching. But when you get to the certain element, look forward, don't focus on that element, because you may as well stay there.
There's often, I'm sure you found this out, if you're looking at a tree and not your track, you're going to hit the tree.
You are getting where you're looking at.
That's right. And that's what's happened. We saw that before. The riders following the lead rider, and they weren't even looking at where they were going. They made the mistake.
Exactly. And that's why staying focused, staying alert of your environment is great. We can see some bikeway riders here. Hard to tell their numbers, so we can't tell you who these guys are. Looks like they're just near the Achziv beach, making their way to Rosh Hanikra.
It's 5-4-2. We're back with the Czechs.
Well, that was Aryeh Gurion and Ori Levy from Marathonia Bikeway. Marathonia Bikeway, excuse me.
And they're grand. They're over 50s, aren't they?
They are over 50s.
You know, the difference between a 50-year-old rider and a 40-year-old older isn't that big, is it really?
Well, Angelo and Chaim are going to be with the 50-year-old riders next year, and you see how strong they are now.
I think they're already thinking about it in their head. Why are we having to race with these 41-year-old guys? They're pulling into us. Next year I'm going to be the youngest one in my group.
Well, the age does take its toll at a certain time, but they still are all very strong riders.
Former part of mine, I have to give him a little shout out. Shavit Kochavi, he's 51. I don't know why he's done it, but he's decided to take a 30-year-old round to that this year. So he's dropped down from the 50s to the elite men, really. And I've seen him and he's suffering. He's been made to suffer as well, but he loves it.
Well, the most important thing is that he loves it. Here we see Shlomi Chaimi making his way back to Omer Shapira after stopping in this free zone.
That's right, Cheek carried on, didn't waste any time. He got the bottle, there we go, the bottle's changed.
And the tactic has paid off. She stayed at the front.
Now, if you want to come up here and do the singles we're going to see today, Hanita and Shlomi, if you don't have the technical skills, at least medium to high technical skills, don't try Hanita in the beginning. Go to Matsuba. Matsuba is much more friendly. If you have children, try Matsuba first. Hanita is for the serious amateur rider.
Always make sure what tracks are you riding. You can go to the JNF website. JNF has created all of those tracks. And by looking there, you can find routes all over the country. They have over 1,750 kilometers of roads and tracks all over Israel from north to south, and you can find the track that's most suitable for you. The tracks yesterday were actually very suitable for, I could say, maybe all levels.
All levels. As we talked about yesterday, it's the speed. We can see the Israelis here giving a little pull forward.
I don't know if they're giving up, if they suffered, if they lost the Germans' wheels, because it was a very tough climb here, and I suppose that Guy Nieve and Nadav Reisberg are not in the front anymore.
No, I think
Guy Nieve looks a little stronger today. Nadav Reisberg was on the back, suffering, and you can see Guy Nieve bringing him his hand, catapulting him forwards, pushing him every once in a while, letting him sit on his wheel in the faster sections, and I guess he'll push him again when they get to the slower sections.
Well, I think we can see the depth of fitness that Guy has doing all the Grand Tours. He can handle these kind of distances, but he's had to work at it. You just can't start. You have to do the work in, and it can take some years to make that depth of fitness.
It takes some years, and Guy Nieve has the depth to ride one day after another. He's done 5 Grand Tours, as he told us, and it just, on a Grand Tour you ride for 21 stages. We can see now Angelo Di Veroli and Chaim Dahan just making their way up the climb. So talking back about Guy Nieve, so he has 21 stages, day after day, only 2 rest days in the middle, so he has the depth to ride this kind of race, to be strong on the fourth day as well. And Nadav Reisberg, he's only a youngster, he's 20 years old, so he hasn't gained this kind of depth yet.
It's all about muscle memory and being able to get up in the morning and do the same job again, over and over again.
And it's just something you have to work on for years and years. It doesn't come on its own. Here we have Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov. Looks like they are a little bit ahead of Angelo Di Veroli and Chaim Dahan. Well, talking about the youngsters now, and then Nadav Reisberg not having maybe the depth. We talked to you actually, Elliot talked yesterday to Gili Gonen and Elia Daniel.
Yes, I did. He's a UCI ride. He finished, I think, I'm sure I might be incorrect here, but I think it was 30 something in the under 23 cross country race worlds.
Yeah, I remember something like that as well.
Now he said yesterday that's the longest race he's ever done in his career so far.
And that shows you the difference. Elia Daniel has done dozens of races like that, but the youngsters haven't done races like that yet. They're still evolving, they're still growing.
So today for him would be a new experience.
It would be a new experience even the day after a long race like that. I believe that Nadav Reisberg hasn't had too many races in this length.
So it's a bit unknown. They don't know what they've got on their legs for the next day. Guy Neer probably knows how he feels the day before, and if he's healthy, he'll know how he's going to feel the next day.
Well, after 5 Grand Tours, you can know yourself way better. He's been studying his body. He knows what's good for him. He knows how to recover best, and his body knows how to recover best. He's a little more used to it, we can say. We're back with the Czech duo.
I think it's your body adapts to the effort you have to put in.
It does. It absolutely does. And here we are with Milan Damek and Jan Jubanik as we're getting intermediate confirmation of the results. So the gap between the riders, between the two groups, was about a minute and a half. So it was the Germans, Lucas Bau and George Jagger, behind them the Israeli duo, Reisberg, Nadav and Guy Niv. Behind them were Karl Markt and Gregor Ragel with the Spaniards, 1 minute and a half.
And I think we just need to check what the Israelis need to do to catch the Spaniards for third. We'll look on the numbers now for you guys.
We will. Well, they have to close a 4-minute gap.
So they've already done 1 minute 40.
Yeah, so they still have some more work, but it's possible. I think for a minute 30, but the stage is not done yet, and riders can have issues.
See here is issues. The tiredness is affecting the legs.
It is affecting the leg, and let's go over some more of these results. So we saw the Czech duo was with all the other groups at that time check before they had the problems on the climb. They were just not able to hold the pace. Behind them were Gili Gonen and Elia Daniel, a further 2.5 minutes back, and a further 2 minutes back from them were Omri Gazit and Roy Milman from Zone 3. We saw them together yesterday having a great ride. They're having another great ride today, aren't they?
They seem to be, yes.
And here we can see the Masters intermediate results. So it looks like they're all together, but that's at the feed zone. That's before the climb where the big changes were made. So all the big riders came to the climb together. We see the first 3 groups, Chaim Dahan, Angelo Di Veroli, David Reznik, Noam Schiller, and Noam Strashnov and Yuval Friedman are at the front. Behind them, there is another group, Nir Zohar and Sharon Peer, and Yehuda Bitbol and Dvir Almog, another strong riders.
Yeah, we saw the big peloton of the Masters before the climb. The climb's going to break everything up. It's going to be different from the second half of the race.
Well, and it did break everything up. We saw riders in different places. We didn't see Angelo Di Veroli and Chaim Dahan together with Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov, which means there was a difference there. Looked like Friedman and Strashnov were stronger. They seemed stronger. You could see it on their face, on their style of ride. Behind them, Chaim and Angelo looked a little bit broken.
There's a word in English that's appropriate here. They were mashing on the pedals. It wasn't smooth anymore, was it? They were pushing down and not pulling on the pedal. That's a sign of a weakness, not weakness obviously, a sign of tiredness in the legs.
Yeah, they did seem tired. And let's go back to the master podium, the GC podium. So first are Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov. 11 minutes behind are Angelo Di Veroli and Chaim Dahan. So Friedman and Strashnov are in a good place. And third are Noam Schiller and David Reznik, another 15 or 16 minutes behind them. But there's another 10 minutes behind them for fourth. So they're pretty good in their place. They were at the front group. We didn't see how they did on that climb, but pretty good for these guys.
We can just saw there the Austrians are still pulling on the front with the Spanish hanging on. I think the Spanish, if the Spanish go off, the Spanish were technically more technical yesterday, we saw in the singles. Maybe they're going to take this opportunity to come up to the top of the single and leave them.
They could, but I think the Austrians are very technical as well. And the Spaniards just look like they're on the wheels for most of the race.
They claim they can't speak English, so you can't really communicate that you're
סינגל
not happy
חניתה הוא
with them, but
סינגל
maybe in hand
קשה
signals they understand.
פיזית. הוא לא קשה טכנית,
Maybe we'll ask them
הוא
later
לא
and
קשה
here we'll
טכנית,
hear
הוא
about
קשה
that.
פיזית.
Some of the
אנחנו
single
נרכב על
tracks we're
10
gonna have
קילומטר
today.
ממנו, 250 מטר גובה מצטבר, בשיפועים כבדים. אתה כל הזמן מרגיש בו שאתה מטפס. רמה טכנית 3. הוא לא מאוד טכני. הוא לא מאוד טכני, אבל יש בו פה ושם אלמנטים, ואם אתה רוכב מהר, כמובן, ככל שעולה המהירות, אז רמת הטכניקה הנדרשת מהרוכב היא גבוהה יותר, גם בפניות, גם במפגש עם אלמנטים, סלעים בעלייה, סלעים בירידה, זה משמעותי. מי שיותר טכני יצא ממנו רענן יותר, וזה ידרוש ממנו פחות אנרגיה לקטע האחרון של הסטייג'. סך הכל, הרמת קושי הכללית המצטברת, יחד עם דרגת הזרימה, שהיא 4, שזה יחסית זורם, היא 4 גם. זאת אומרת, רמת קושי כללי לסינגל חניתה היא 4. זה הדירוג שנתנו לו. אבל מה שחשוב לזכור זה שהם אחרי 3 סטייג'ים ופרולוג, זאת אומרת, זה היום הרביעי של התחרות, מניח שכבר מותשים, עייפים, הסינגל הזה לא ירגיש בדרגת קושי, כמו שאנחנו דירגנו אותו, אלא הוא כבר יהיה כבד ברגליים, משמעותי, בגלל השיפועים שבו, בגלל זה שכל הזמן אתה מרגיש שאתה מטפס, בטח בחציו הראשון אתה כל הזמן צובר גובה עד לשיא הגובה בסינגל. סינגל מפרך, קשה, סוגר את bara epic ישראל, סוגר את הסטייג' השלישי של bara epic ישראל. זהו, מקווה שזה נתן לכם הבנה של מה עובר על הרוכבים. אני מחזיר את השידור לעמדת השידור בכפר התחרות.
Well, thank you very much, Gal Tzachor, the organizer, the founder of this amazing race, the bara epic Israel. He did it in memory of his father, Giora Tzachor. They both had a dream of making a real epic here in Israel. They took their inspiration was the Cape Epic in South Africa. They wanted to make an event like this here, the Giro of Israel, or the Tour of Israel, if you'd like it. And that was their dream, to bring riders from Israel out to the nature and to bring international riders into Israel.
And apparently, according to some of the riders who have ridden the course, there is more technical sections here than there are in Cape Epic race.
And in Austria, the Austrians loved the tracks yesterday, didn't they?
We can see, we just saw there now the Israelis are inside in the Hanita single track climb. You literally climb all the way up and then drop down.
And let's go back again on the stats of that Hanita single track. So it's 10 kilometers long, the part that we are doing, 250 meters of climbing, and you are going to go it down as well, as you said.
And you go down fast.
The technical level is 3 out of 5. The flow level is 4 out of 5, so it's pretty flowy, but the difficulty level is also 4 out of 5. It's not an easy track.
No, it's the speed. It's the speed you go down. And there's loose over hard pack. It's not the easy. It's all under trees. You see every turn there's a tree waiting on the corner.
Ooh!
If you make the mistake, you hit your handlebar hits the tree.
And we are back with the leading group, the Germans. It's hard to get good images there.
And there's our M&M team.
M&M's, they had a great ride yesterday, didn't they?
They did. They're doing very well. Now this couple have only been riding properly for 2 years. They're young guys. I mean, if you see this just proves you can get out a little bit of training. You can get out and be competitive. I think they actually moved up, haven't they, from the first day to the second.
Well, now they're sitting in 15th overall, Muhammad Yaha and Mustafa Ragib.
Now, any coach, I mean, if a coach is out there watching this, these are the kind of riders you want to get hold of, and you can lift their level up to a higher level.
It's a very impressive ride for them. Is it their first epic?
I don't know about that, but if you've only been ridden 2 years, they haven't done many races.
Probably not, and finishing 15th, and not your first or even your second epic is a great feat.
And I know they've got the two couples ahead of them are very close. They've got an opportunity, and they're on the move forward. They've got opportunity to go up to 11th or 12th today.
Well, if they close less than a minute on the riders in front of them, they can go up to 13th place.
I mean, that is huge kudos to take back to your village.
That is a great feat Indeed, and again, we're at the back of the Germans. Lukas Baum is setting the pace. George Egger is on his wheel.
And we're in the Hanita Climb. As you see, it's twisty, turny, but you can ride it. There is traction. There's no loose rocks on the climb. It's a lovely climb, and also it's shade.
It's shady, and the riders are flying up here. The German duo, no one can stick to their wheel.
Well, only the electric bike can stick to their wheel at the moment.
And he's cheating, but he's out doing a great job, our cameraman. Aviv Yechezkel with his Trek e-bike, as we said yesterday, and as he said, ooh.
This is a little up, and now you have to go up this. You can't see it, but that's a little harder incline. I often go with my friends. We have a little social bike club called Coffee and Cake, and we often ride this. We either ride on the road or on the mountain bike, we don't care. The only rule we have in our group is that we have a coffee in the middle of our ride.
It's a great rule to have.
And if you don't want to stop in the middle, you're not in our group. You know,
well,
I often see riders wanting to ride 4 hours flat without stopping, and I don't see the point. You don't have to do it. You can ride 2 hours, have 10 minutes off, have a little drink, recuperate, and carry on that extra 2 hours. There is no effect on your training.
Well, obviously riding without a break is a little harder, but it depends what you want. If you want to enjoy it as well, having a 10-minute break won't hurt you too much. So we just saw the Germans there. We were talking about Aviv Yechezkel, our cameraman. So he's riding his Trek e-bike, and he says it has a great feeling. You can see some riders having to walk up this climb. Looks like the women leaders.
It looks like a grind, doesn't it?
It's a tough climb up here.
And we can see they're all on the left. The left is smoother. There's no less loose, so you've got more traction. But it's all a grind, and it just makes it hard. It's just harder on the fourth day today.
It is very, very hard, as we see our e-bike cameraman, one of them.
It's not hard for him, is it?
Well, he has his little engine over there, and he's rocking it up here.
But the e-bike riders are ex-elite riders, aren't they?
They all are. We have some great riders. Aviv Yechezkel, that we mentioned, was an elite rider. He rode for Israel Cycling Academy when it was called so, before it was Israel Startup Nation. We also have Ben Kedmi, who's a very technical rider, and we also have Amnon, another great rider here. All very talented to hold on with these riders, even with an engine. It's not only the power that they need to put out, it's also to have the technical ability of these leaders to stay with them. Because going down, it's not only about the engine, it's also about your technical abilities.
It's all about technical, and also it's about your brain. I'm going to say brain power. It's mental power. It's being able to concentrate for so many hours under that stress.
Staying fresh. And they're going in and out of the track here.
I mean, as I said the previous days, you think, oh, it's not too hard, this track, but the speed they're going, the amount of decisions they have to make, where they're going to put the front wheel and why, it tires you out in the end.
Well, it isn't ranked 4 out of 5 for nothing, as you're back with Gili Gonen and Eliad Daniel from Team Isgav.
And we talked about them just a bit earlier.
Riding very, very well. Is it Eliad on the front, isn't it?
Yeah. He's called the tractor, guys and girls.
You'll never forget to mention it, won't you?
I love it. He's such a lovely guy.
Well, we saw the Germans on the front earlier, and actually, did you know that George Egger was the under-23 German champion back in 2015?
That is probably one of the toughest titles to take. There are so many junior under-23 German riders. That's probably the toughest title to take in Germany.
Well, when he was in the under-23 category, he was at
להישאר עם
the top.
המשקפיים?
Let's look back at 2017. He had top finishes. He was second at World Cup races, 4th and 7th, just having some great rides. And talking about that transition from going between an under-23 to an elite rider, it's never an easy transition.
בינתיים, זו שנה שמינית שלנו.
One of the feed zones.
באמת הכי מוצלח, טפו וגדול שהיה עד כה. מי שאתם רואים פה מאחור, זאת תחנת רענון בראש הנקרה. התחיל קצת, אתם רואים אותי טיפה כזה. ההתחלה, רכיבה על כל טיילת ראש הנקרה מטורפת, כניסה לתוך הקופות של האתר, ואחרי זה לרכס סולם. קצת היה לחץ, אבל עכשיו הכל נרגע ומדהים. קצת יותר מ1,000 רוכבים יש לנו, כי התווספו עוד חבר'ה שעושים מרתון אחד יומי אחד. זהו, מה יש לומר? רוכבים מחו"ל הצלחנו להביא גם בעידן הקורונה. יש פה הרבה מאוד שמחה, משהו שאנחנו מדמיינים בדרך כלל או רואים בטלוויזיה במחוזות זרים, נמצא אצלנו פה בצפון הארץ, וזה אדיר. אני מאוד שמח. מקווה ששנה הבאה נצליח להשתפר. אנחנו שנה הבאה באזור חוף כרמל, אבל אין מה לחשוב על שנה הבאה כשאנחנו פה בינתיים. תענוג.
Well, we're back with the Germans. We had the Galtzachor in the feed zone. We were just talking about that transition between an under-23 rider to an elite rider. It's never an easy transition, isn't it?
I haven't done it. I mean, I got into cycling in my 30s. I mean, you've been there. You were a top junior in the country, weren't you?
Well, I was. I didn't get up to under-23, but the transitions and the age groups are very hard. Going between a cadet, 15 to 16, to a junior, 17 to 18, it's never easy. Then going up between the under-23 to the elite is also not easy. It's all about the depth in your legs, the muscle memory. That's what makes that big difference, doesn't it?
It does. And if we can go back, sorry about that. We're on now on the downhill of Hanita. I think we should all hold our breath a bit now, because the pace is going to go up. The single is tight. It's not a wide single at all.
It is tight, and we just had some images from the GoPro cameras over here inside the track.
And I think when this couple here, when they come on the top, Gilly will take the lead. He's the cross-country rider. This is in his blood, this kind of single at the moment.
Well, they do have a little chance over there on the road, maybe to change in between them. I believe they know the roads, and they're not like the German riders who are riding in unknown places. At least Lucas Baum, George Egger was here in the previous edition, and the course was pretty similar, as we mentioned earlier.
Gilly there showing off a bit.
Well, they're all great, talented riders here. He knows that he's on camera.
I mean, he's with himself now. He does this every day, not every day. He does at least 5 days a week. He's in the singles doing this technical work, and you do have to work on your technical skills, don't you?
You do. It's a skill that you have to maintain. You can be a skilled rider, but you need to keep on doing it, keep your brain working, keep your confidence on, because confidence is also a very important aspect of your technical skills. If a rider will crash here, his technical skills can drop by a big mean.
Well, also the race can be over, can't it?
It can be over, but if he keeps on racing, sometimes he won't be as confident to do the things he usually does.
Well, I've seen crashes that you can't keep on. You've ruined the wheel, you've broken your bike. That's it. It's in, as they say, you have to get in the bus to go home.
And hopefully no riders will have to get in the bus to go home today. As now there's a switch. George Egger's on the front, Lucas Baum is on the back. We don't know how far behind our Guy Niven at Weisberg. We'll be curious to see their gaps from the Germans to see if the stage win is still up for grabs. Although we saw that once they go, they are gone.
There's no stopping them, is there?
There is no. But the more interesting gap for Guy Niven at Weisberg will be behind them. As we mentioned previous times, many times previously, they are interested about this third place, the podium place of Bara Epic Israel. The Spaniards have took it from them yesterday after having some bad technical issues. And today they had a great start again, struggling to keep with the Germans on the climb.
But that's okay. I mean, these are the top riders, aren't they?
These are the top riders here at this race. And now today they have a chance to get, first of all, a better podium finish at the stage.
And some more UCI points as well, which is also always important for pro riders.
It is always important, but even more importantly, they can get to the third place overall.
Which means they stand on the podium in the general classification, doesn't it?
Yes, it's the most prestigious podium in this Bara Epic Israel.
Now I saw some amateur riders turning up in the morning before they'd race. They'd sneakily go and get their friends to take pictures of them on the podium.
Well, everyone comes here at the end of the race and take a picture with the wall here, the Epic Israel wall, the Bara Epic Israel wall, to show that you're a finisher. It's always a nice picture to take, to upload, to send it to your friends.
You can even take it to your office and put it on your wall.
I think it's worth it.
I think it's worth when you're at work slugging it out. You just look up there and remember the the things you did here.
You would. There was a little push over there. Gili pushed Elia Daniel. And the e-bike just having to stop as well.
Yeah, they're still on the climb here. It goes down a little bit, you come back up again. They haven't reached the top yet. I think the Germans have gone over the top and now we're starting to descend. And let's just hold our breath here and just hope nothing happens.
We will hope nothing happens for these German riders. Talking about the memories you get from Bara Epic Israel, each rider here gets a jersey, a Jinga jersey, a Jinga finisher jersey. And that's another partner here with this race, isn't it?
Now Jinga is a company that was started 10 years ago by Aviad. He has many jobs. One of his main job, I think, is being the Israeli pro team coach, one of the coaches at least. And he had a little dream about starting up a clothing company, which at the time many of his friends thought he was a bit nuts. But he's proved them wrong, and he's been supplying the team jersey, the leader jerseys here since he can't even remember, but he thinks it's 2017.
That is great. And he's also supplying the finisher jerseys, as we said. And this year, the finisher jerseys will have the riders' names. So each rider here comes at the end of the race and will ask the name that he wants to be on his jersey. If it's his family name, his first name, and he'll be sent the jersey with his name, the finisher jersey, to his home within a week.
Maybe you can get also the number on. I don't know if they could do that. Wouldn't it be nice if you had your partner's numbers on there as well?
You mean like the race number?
Yes, your race number under the name. That would be totally pro.
That would be very, very cool. But just having the name it's a great thing to add.
Is he going to print them in English or in Hebrew?
I believe he can do both.
I think he'd do anything good. Thanks to him to supporting the Bara Epic Israel. It's people like him that make this event so special.
And this Bara Epic Israel is special as we are back with Elia Daniel and Gili Gonen on this little road and left-hander.
Sorry, this is in the middle of the climb still. But we haven't seen the Austrians or the Spanish a bit, have we, for a long time?
Well, I think the situation lies like this. I think we have the Germans in the front, that's for sure. And between them, they're probably Gainiv and Nadav Reisberg. Behind were the Austrians. I don't know if they closed the gap or they haven't. Behind them, I believe, are the Spaniards, maybe even on their wheel. Looks like the Austrians weren't able to break them on the climb. It's still not sure whether Eliade Daniel and Gili Gonen are in front or behind the Czech duo, because we saw them with the front group and we didn't see Eliade Daniel and Gili Gonen with the front group. And you can see the beautiful views on the left. We hope no one falls over there.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier, this is the fast bit. You've got hard pack and then loose little stones over the top. Now if you hit one of those stones incorrectly, it can push you to the left or the right, and there's no room for error here.
Well, they are focused. They know they're in the front. They won't make silly mistakes. I believe they won't take big risks.
Now, I just like to say the amateurs here could stop. There's an absolutely perfect opportunity to take a picture with the view behind you there.
Well, they just need to make sure that there's no one behind them, because this could be an uncomfortable incident. They're going up, they're going down, but they're always working, and they're alone at the front again, as it's been for every day today, every day in this race.
That's right, those little twists and turns hurt your leg a lot, don't they? After 4 days, that little sprint up the hill and around can really put some pains in your thighs.
Well, I think they're still very much motivated to be at the front of this race, on their way to take 4 out of 4. It's a little early to say that, but it's hard to see anyone bringing them back.
Well, I'd like to wait to see until they get out of all the singles today, and then we can probably say what's going to happen.
Well, we'll probably get some more time gaps later on today, maybe after the tracks in the next feed zone, as we're back at the Rosh Hanikra.
The first feed zone, as you can see, there's so many people here. Not everybody has to ride fast or wants to ride fast. They just want to get round today and have a great time.
They do, and if they go slower, they can see the beautiful views of Rosh Hanikra, the caverns, the cliffs, the bays. And there are actually also 3 small islands near Rosh Hanikra. You can't visit them. They're a natural reserve.
If you have a kayak, as I do have, you can paddle out and go around them. And the 3 of them have names, and I think they're names of seagulls. I can't remember. Someone will tell me I'm incorrect.
Well, they also have many animal species there, such as sea and other sea creatures.
It's a nature reserve for the seabirds. That's why you're not allowed to go on them. We can see in the single here, it's the down here, it's becoming very fast. Very fast indeed.
It is fast, but our cameraman is still on their case, but none of the other racers has managed to do so. One hour and 20 minutes into today's race. We have a 72-kilometer long stage today. 780 meters of climbing. It's the final stage of this 8th edition of Bara Epic Israel.
I mean, it may be 75 k's. It's going to feel like a sprint to the riders, but after what they did yesterday.
Well, they had a very long stage yesterday. We'll remind you, it was the Queen stage. It was the longest ever stage of Epic Israel. 120 kilometers long with many kilometers of single tracks. They went south to the area of Alon Galil, Rish Lakish, and some other great, beautiful single tracks. The riders are now, and another little jump here. It's Gili Gonen having fun. Not only Shlomi Chaimi can do those jumps.
Well, there's always someone to take over. And Shlomi's getting a bit older now. The young guys, they're always coming after you, aren't they? And you're always a little target. The young guys, it's great to see because they've seen Shlomi as kids. They've come to the races, watched him, and now they're taking part by themselves.
And when you have an idol, an icon, someone to look up to, that's great. You can have someone to see. Something gives you motivation, someone you want to be like, and Shlomi is accessible. You can see him in the races in Israel, you can see him in the Bara Epic Israel, and there's a great new generation of riders, of under 23 riders, who are having great results in the world.
Well, not only, I mean, for them, we saw kids here come from the school, 6-year-olds to 10-year-olds, and they were in awe of all the riders. Even some of the amateurs were like stars the other day, and the kids wanted their little autographs. The amateurs couldn't understand what was going on, but for a child that old, it doesn't matter.
It was beautiful to see, wasn't it?
It was. Even the old guys have you have your idols that you want to be like, you want to ride like. And it's so accessible, this sport. I mean, where in a sport can when you literally put your hand and get a selfie with an Olympian or a world champion? I know we haven't done a world champion here, but you can do it in Europe.
What's beautiful about cycling is cycling doesn't have a stadium, cycling doesn't have an arena. The arena and the stadium are the roads, are the nature, are the tracks.
And the fans are on the road. If there's no fans on the road out there, then there is no real sport, is it?
There is no, and I was very glad to see this year the fans getting back.
And it's free. You don't have to pay to go into a stadium.
It's free of charge, and you get millions of spectators on the roads. Sport 5 are now having an interview. We won't hear it on here.
But we're gonna see it, so we can't exactly say what's going on at the moment.
Well, we can't talk about the.
I'm gonna have a little respite and have a drink here because I haven't drunk since the start.
Well, that's important. So we'll come back to you soon. Well, this is an interview with Moshe Davidovich, the head of the regional council, Mate Asher, who's been a great host for this race, as we said already, and the second time running here. It's been a great time being here.
I know that they do support and encourage sport, outdoor sport, whether it's runners or cyclists or swimmers. And they actually have a triathlon race, half Ironman race that they organise as well.
Really? Where?
It's in this area. I think they ride up and down what we saw today on the beach. You ride your bike, you swim in the sea. I don't know where they run actually, but I know they ride the bikes on the coastal path and do the sea swim as well.
We'll come back after the break. So we are back. We were just talking about that beautiful race you were telling us about in the Ironman.
Now we're back onto the bottom of the single Hanita. This is the end of Hanita. They're going down the path now. They're going down to the dry riverbed and the crossing towards the Matsupa single. You'll see quite a technical rocky path, riverbed down here under the road.
And it looks like these guys are doing well. They're flying down here, and our cameraman even gets a moment to take his glove off the handlebar and clean the GoPro. Oh, that's problem over there.
Yeah.
But he's fine. Now they go down under the road.
And now we're on to Matsuba.
They're still on the front, and these guys are racing. George Agra and Lucas Baum having another great race today, having a great Bara Epic Israel. So we were talking earlier how cycling is a great sport, isn't it? You just have to go outside to see our heroes. You can go to France, you can go to Belgium, you can go to Europe, to America to see your favorite riders. The World Cup, the cross-country World Cup goes all over the world, and spectators from all over the world can come and see their heroes. And it's free of charge. You just go outside and you see them.
I don't think any sport you can get as close as you do to the riders. I mean, you can literally don't touch them when they're riding up the road, but you can literally smell the sweat off the bodies. I mean, if you like that sort of thing.
Yeah, you can just see them. You can get a picture with them. It looks like Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov, the leaders of the Masters category here at that tracks. I, for myself, actually, just going back to seeing your heroes, I, for myself, have pictures with my heroes, with the riders when they were here in Israel in the Giro d'Italia, which was a great event here.
I also do actually, there's no difference between the ages. I got Sammy Sanchez.
Oh!
I don't know, I like him, he's just an honest rider, I just love it. I got a picture with him, and I got a picture with, Adam, the New Zealand rider who used to just ride in races, that was Adam from Lotto team. I've got his name now. Adam Hansen. Yeah.
Australian.
Yes, Australian.
I also got a picture with him.
And I asked him about his shoes, and he loved it, the fact that I knew about he produces his own carbon shoes.
He has some very light shoes, lightweight shoes.
I made a bet with my cycling buddies that I would kiss his shoes. So
and
I asked,
did you?
Yeah, I did, and I got the picture.
Well, now I got to see that picture.
Afterwards, his boss took him to the side, and we knew it was his contract year. So I said to his boss, quite cheekily, he's worth every dollar you give him.
Well, he is a great rider, and we are with the beautiful views behind the Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov.
And you're on free. They're on the descent now of Hanita, the technical part.
Seems like the feed zone here. I'm not sure it's the first feed zone. Seems like a feed zone maybe after one of the tracks. You can see many volunteers
The volunteer on the left used to ride rides with his wife in the weekends. He participated in many races. And they're always as a couple with his wife, and they always had a nice thing to say about something. We can see Matsuba here. Matsuba is different. It's more open, more flowing. You can, as a beginner, ride this single without any problems at all.
It looks like a very pleasant single, but now we have pros on it, and they're going here very, very fast. George Egger on the front, Lucas Baum on his wheel, and behind them, looks like maybe now we can see...
That's the top
Masters.
of Hanita, yeah, that's back onto Hanita. Still going up. Was that Chaim?
I think Chaim and Angelo had the IGP jerseys on today.
It's confusing, isn't it, to have different jerseys all the time. But we can see now, they haven't got backpacks on today, so we can see the colours are a lot better.
Well, there is one rule that the same team, the same duo, must have the same jersey.
Jerseys. Yeah, that's
So
right.
you can tell that they're from the same
Now
team.
when you have two riders from two different teams, they ride with one team.
Looks like there's a problem over there. Oh, a little crash. That's unpleasant for the IGP rider. Some riders having technical issues. Excuse me, Elliot, you were saying?
Yeah, you have a little bit of competition between what team jersey you're going to wear. Are you going to? Oh, you can see the gravel guys are still out there. Isn't that fun to watch? I mean, they obviously heard about it, and they decided to take their Saturday ride to come and watch the race.
It is very fun. We can just see Nimi Cohen over there.
And you can see the average age there is over 50. Anybody can get on their bike and ride.
They're just out there to have fun. Gravel is actually a new wave in the sport, one would say. They take a bike that looks like a road bike, has a narrow wheels and tires as well.
And we saw some interesting lines being taken there.
And with your gravel bike, you can ride almost all the trails.
You can ride a lot of single track. I've ridden my cyclocross back around this track also in the winter.
Wow, some tracks are harder with these bikes because you don't have suspension.
Sorry, yeah, you just go a bit slower, but it makes it a little bit more interesting. If you can mix and match, it just makes your cycling experience just a little bit more interesting.
It is interesting, and it does make those wild trails very, very fast.
Now, Oi, I'd just like to ask you quickly, how many bikes have you got?
Well, I think I would say 3.5.
3.5? Why's half?
Sharing one with my father.
As you get older, you get more and more.
How many do you have?
I don't know. Apparently, my wife sent our little neighbour, has a little girl who's interested all the time. She was sent to check and count how many bikes I have in the house at the moment, and they came to 13.
Wow, all yours.
No, they weren't. That's the thing. They were counting my daughter's bikes as well.
That doesn't count.
But anyway, I don't seem to be able to release a bike. And when I get a bike, I keep it forever.
Well, some people like to get a bike and then exchange it for a newer bike.
Well, these racers always have one race bike. That's going to be their fastest bike. That bike will get a lot of use and abuse. That's also quite an option to trade it in after three years or so and get the newer model. They don't change so much these days. There has been a big change in bikes over 10 years. We're now 29 wheels, double suspensions, a lot faster on all carbon. But you can keep the road bikes, especially the road bikes, you can keep them for your lifetime.
Well, I have my road bike for a long time now, and the changes are pretty minor, maybe some more gears, going to electrical gears as well, but no big geometry changes.
No, it's still same wheels. The tyres have got a little bit fatter. Instead of having 23mm wide tyres, you maybe have a 28 now, 25 or 28. But it's still the same. It looks the same bike. It looks a lot cleaner because all the cables and the pipes are inside the frame these days.
Exactly.
And we're doing Matsuba the wrong way around.
Who said it's wrong?
I know, because that's the goat's shed, and we normally come from the opposite direction.
Well, maybe wrong for you, but it's right for these guys, and they're doing it very, very nicely indeed.
We're going to come up to a little rocky path now, which can cause snake bites quite easily if you haven't got the right tire pressure in.
Well, don't want to say something that will interfere with their luck, but up till now, these guys didn't have too many technical issues.
No, they're just flying. They're in like I call it a flow state. They're just floating over the track here. I don't think they're even feeling it, you know.
Well, they're just riding so well. And talking about the fact that they didn't have too many issues, do you think it's by mistake or just by chance, or?
First of all, it's good equipment. It's the correct tires. Don't use the light tires on these tracks. You will get punctures. You'll be disappointed. Put a medium weight tyre on. You don't have to get the heaviest tyre to enjoy yourself, and the right tyre pressure, not too hard and not too soft.
Well, I think these guys aced their equipment choice.
And tyre pressure, if someone tells you I have 32 PCI, that doesn't mean anything. You have to work out what's good for you and your weight. It'll differ between a lighter and heavier rider.
And it's also different between the width of the tire and what you're going to do today.
Well, that's right. These riders used to use 1.8 inch, which would be a 47mm tyre. Now they're normally using a 2.3 inch, which is an extra, I can't do the maths in my head now.
Well, it's
a wider
0.5 inches.
That's right. We're going wider. They're not as wide as an all-mountain bike, where you'd have a 2.5-inch wheel, which would be too heavy and too slow for riders like this.
Well, actually, the e-bike riders, their bikes have pretty wide tires as well, wider than the 2.2, that's for sure.
Well, they've got a motor to push them on, haven't they? They can have a 2.8 even in the front.
Yeah, it's a heavier bike than it does need the slightly wider tire to maintain all of the pressure that it's holding.
A lot of people pick up the e-bike and say, well, that's heavy. But who cares? You've got a motor to lift you, to pull you up the hill.
You actually don't feel it. I rode on it, you rode on it. The e-bike riders here rode on it, rode behind the pros, and they say it feels like the regular experience. The trek bikes here feel like just a regular experience.
Well, that's all the movement in the industry now is to make the e-bike a better experience for you, a proper riding experience.
And it looks like our cameramen are having great experiences. They come here hyped after every ride, saying, they're just eager to tell about their day.
They're on their high revs, so they don't need any coffee to pick them up when they've come back here.
No, absolutely not. As we can see some more riders in the tracks.
Sorry, we're going to see that all day long here, aren't we? The riders, smiley faces, just enjoying themselves.
It's a great day to be out here. It's a sunny morning here.
The clouds haven't come out again, have they?
We haven't had the cloud for the whole race. The sky is blue. The wind is not blowing too strongly yet. We may have it stronger later on today, as we've experienced.
I think they're going to finish before the wind starts up even at this pace.
They're just flying from kilometer zero. It's amazing. Did you expect that? Did anyone expect that?
Well, the Israeli riders tried to test them a bit, didn't they? And it didn't succeed.
They did, but even between themselves, they're charging up every climb. They're out of the saddle. You can see some recreational riders up in the front.
Let's hope they move out the way quickly.
I think they see them. I think they'll move.
Yeah, let's hope they can hear you up there.
Lots of respect over there. Everyone moving to the side. I think the e-bike cameraman will also shout if the Germans are not shouting.
And I think the motorbike is supposed to be ahead of them, isn't it? Clearing the path, warning people.
It is, and they're probably warned. And they're sharing the path, as we said. The path is here for everyone.
No one owns the path, you know.
There's respect between the riders. Another sign of this respect is when you go out and see other riders, you'll always say hello to the riders. It's always a nice way to greet.
You know, I've met so many interesting people and nice people cycling, people that you would never, and I'd never meet in my day-to-day work life or private life. I've ridden, you often meet people who are riding bikes and you ask what they do and they'll say, oh, I own a high-tech business. I think, hang on, I'm just a farmer and I'm talking here and riding with a high-tech owner. You might be a millionaire, but they're such nice people. And generally, if you ride a bike, you're a nice person.
Well, on a bike, everyone is equal. Well, I'm not sure the kilometers to go are correct now.
I don't know about kilometers, but I'm just thinking about the people I've met now over my cycling life.
Well, there are many great people riding their bikes. We just got some more images of it. Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov on those tracks and back to the Germans. I think we can just watch them all day, how smooth they ride. They choose the right lines. They're so quickly, they're going so fast in these single tracks.
But I'd like to say the top masters here are also flowing. They've got a lovely style. They're not under pressure. They're not tense in their bodies. The bike's doing the talking on the trail. You've bought the bike. You want to let it do the work for you. Don't try and force lines.
Don't try and force lines. Let the bike do the work. That's exactly what you should do. Let it into the line and let your body follow.
And again, look along as far forward as you can. It allows you to make your decision a lot easier.
And when the decision making is easier, the decisions are better. And you can see many riders on the tracks today. It is Saturday. It is the day that everyone goes out on their bikes. You can see thousands of riders on the trails today, all over the country, from the north to the south. So that's what the riders are experiencing now. And some of them are also probably the one-day racers who are a little bit more behind, but they're also here on the track. Oh, maybe a little problem over there. We saw a standstill.
Yeah, I think he probably missed a turn or took a foot out.
Maybe we'll see a replay now. We see one of the cameramen chasing him. We're hoping to get that replay.
I think we're just taking a gel there.
Here it is. Looks like maybe a little tumble or just off the track for a moment. The leg out.
That's right. You just lost the line for a second and didn't panic.
No problems there. Well, they don't know the tracks, then they don't know what to expect. They're behind their partner very close. They don't see the road in front of them. They just have to trust, and sometimes you just miss a little bit of the turn, and that's okay. Nothing happened here. They're focused. They stay calm, as you said. It's a little change of batteries over there. This is Aviv Yechezkel, our cameraman. And here are the Austrians, Gregor Agel and Karl Marx. Haven't seen them for a long time. Look like they had something fixed maybe in their wheels, but they look pretty far back, don't they?
Yeah, because we saw other people going through there before there that were behind them.
Well, we did see it. Maybe the one-day racers. I don't know exactly.
Do you know what? I mean, this couple here are getting a fantastic time because they're coming through Hanita now to Matsuba, and they're not that far off the lead riders, to be honest. A couple of minutes, that's for sure.
In my field, it's a little more. I remember them going near there maybe 10 minutes ago. We can see some young IGP riders over here.
And I think that's the young girl, 16-year-old I talked about earlier. She had the IP, looks just like her.
Could absolutely be her.
I think it's Noah and Zoa. I mean, with 800 riders on the track, there's so much action going on here, it's quite hard to keep up, isn't it?
It's hard for us to keep up, and I guess it's even harder for the organizers. Imagine yourself producing an event that contains 800 riders. They'll all come later on to the race village. It's amazing. Here we have intermediate results. It looks like the Austrians may have closed the gap, but where are Guy Niven and Dav Reisberg? Looks like they're further back. The Austrians may be closing the gap on the tracks. Because as the results stand now, maybe in the intermediate point over there, it actually pretty much makes sense. Lucas Baum and George Egger got there with Aviv Yechezkel, who we saw, the e-bike cameraman. He was changing his batteries. Behind them, we saw Karl Marx and Gregor Agel. We saw them just after we saw Aviv Yechezkel, 35 seconds back. So they're having a pretty good ride. They're waking up.
I mean, we saw Nadav having a bit of trouble on the climb. Couldn't he? Maybe lost the time on the climb up to the top of the single there.
So it looks like the Austrians managed to get away of the Spaniards, and they were both 1 minute and 45 seconds behind the Spaniards and the Israelis. So it looks like maybe it will be hard to get into third place today for the Israelis. General classification, I mean, of course, because we remind you, they needed to close a 4.5 minute gap. They started off great, but Nadav had some troubles today. Just a little tired, which makes sense. He's had 3 long days, 3 tough days.
I mean, he's never ridden this far in his life, has he?
Well, that was Gilly, but I suppose
Gilly, sorry, and also, I would imagine him, that's his also.
I believe Nadav hasn't raced these kind of races before.
Multiple day races we're talking about.
He's only 20, so his depth is not as big as these professional riders, these other professional riders, these more experienced professional riders. We're getting some more beautiful views of the ride. Here we can see George Egger and Lucas Baum under the bridge and taking the Y turn into the climb in order to make it as quickly as possible. We saw other riders walking up there earlier, but they wanted to make the Y turn in order to get straight up to that little hill.
Yeah, just set you up just to power up. And that's out of the last single of Matsuba, and we're back into the fields again, into the bananas.
And you can see Aviv Yechezkel chasing them, and we are going to see the Austrians in a moment. I think these are the one-day racers. That's why we're confused with the riders, getting a little bit of different images.
It's all mixed up, isn't it? There also, you can do a 57k ride or a 75k ride on the one-day route, which is almost the same. The 75 is the same. Oh, here we go. The Austrians, they're very close. Look at that.
They're very close. They're closing the gap. That's a great ride for Gregor Agel and Karl Marx. They're on, aren't they?
I mean, it just shows you that you don't have to panic. Which one didn't wake up in the morning? Charlie didn't wake up again in the morning. I think you should give him a little nudge earlier in the day to get him up. But you can see, you don't have to panic. You know you're good. You know you've got legs. Just use them.
And they're not panicking, and they're doing it beautifully. It's not the first time that it's happened. It's happened on the first stage, as you just said. He didn't wake up. They had problems. They were losing the front group at the first climb. The Israelis and the Spaniards stayed with them, but they were kept calm, stayed calm, cool and collective, worked their way through, and got all the way to be in second place. And looks like they're doing it again. And maybe today they'll even make their way back to the Germans.
Oh, and the beer's just turning up again. Second day in a row, the beer man's come.
That's great.
Can we say it's Gibor? Beer Gibor.
It is the Gibor Brewery.
Gibor means hero in English, in Hebrew, sorry.
And they're back at the Bananas, so it does make sense that they're around 20 kilometers away from home.
And it's really going to be a sprint now, isn't it? I think they might be able to sense that they are coming up to them.
How could you sense that? They don't know. They didn't see them for a long time, didn't they?
They haven't seen them, but I think they know something. They're not that far behind, and now they'll be able to look back and see them.
Maybe sometimes we get those twists and turns. Sometimes they go one in front of the other. That would be a chance to see them.
But I mean, the Austrians want to go on the stealth mode now, not make too much noise, sneak up on them. If they can sneak up, it's a new race.
Well, sneaking up would be good, and here we can see the Spaniards and the Israelis, Guy Niv and Nadav Reisberg with Manuel.
And you can see the Spaniard doesn't have to have the strength to go up that hill, power up it anymore.
Well, maybe they'll be able to make the difference now. The Israelis, Guy and Nadav. Excuse me, the Spaniards were Manuel and Victor. Coming here all the way from Spain. Not used to doing so, actually.
And not speaking English either.
Both of them first time here. I hope they're enjoying their time and will come here again. So the gaps aren't big. It looks like Nadav and Guy are trying to break away. Third place GC may be far, but there is still a podium for today's stage.
Yeah, I mean the Spaniards, what were they? A couple of minutes ahead of the Israelis on the GC, aren't they?
Four.
So all they've got to do now is just sit there. I mean they can even let them go a little bit.
Yeah, but they do want the podium for today's stage, don't they?
That's right. I forgot about that. That's right. Now you can just see these two powerhouses. One's having a little drink, having a rest. The other one comes on the front and helps him out.
They're just working so well together.
And zero technical problems.
The perfect choice of technical equipment.
It does happen sometimes, doesn't it? Everything comes down right for you. You don't have everything just works. It's a great feeling.
It's not only sometimes. I think I'm very impressed of these guys because we've seen them in 2018 and we've seen them in 2019, and they were always the couple that were clean of technical issues. It may not have been Lucas Baum, it's been Maximilian Brandl, but they've always been great and they had a minimal amount of technical issues. So I'm not sure it's by chance.
It's very important to pick the right equipment, isn't it? And sometimes the equipment for your friends isn't the right equipment for you. Don't believe everything you hear from your friends. If you can find an older rider who's been in the sport, ridden for an awful long time, a solid rider, don't be afraid to ask for a couple of tips.
You can always learn from the more experienced riders. This is a part of the beautiful part of the sport.
And they're also happy to help you, aren't they?
They are happy to help. They are very happy to help you. You can also see it in professional teams where you see more experienced riders helping the younger riders, teaching them, and then the younger riders can take what they learn from these guys and keep on.
And also your local bike shop. I mean, I know Trek has 7 shops around the country that they actually own. They are professional bike shops, and they'll give you a professional, honest opinion on a bike or equipment. They'll never sell you something that's not right for you, which can happen if you go and buy a second-hand bike from a friend. It might be not the right size.
Exactly. Trek will always try to give you the best support. Here we can see Milan Damek and Jan Jebanek. That speed zone seems like they're fourth on the road. Didn't see Gili Konen and Eliat Daniel yet.
And quite often the honest cycle shops won't sell you something that's not correct for you, even if they don't have it.
No, that's not something that they usually do. The big shops, the honest brands, the big and the small. You can see Nadav Reisberg is suffering. He's having a hard day today.
He's in the hurt locker, isn't he?
And talking about experience sharing, some commercials over there. We're not the only one talking about our sponsors, aren't we?
How long is he? How many cases has he done up until now? We must be over 200. Must be 250 Ks or something over the last 3.5 days.
Well, today we did 50 already. Yesterday 120, sums up to 170. The day before we did another 70, so it's 240 plus another 20.
And then 30 on the prologue.
Yeah, so we're about 260, 270 Ks.
And he's got still time to smile at the camera and show us his sponsors' gels.
Well, they're just having fun here at the Bara Epic Israel. So back to professional knowledge sharing between the more experienced and the less experienced riders. I think Guy Niv has got a fair share of that, riding in the Israel Startup Nation. They recently had very professional riders, very experienced riders joining them, such as Chris Froome, Andre Greipel, and other great and big names of the road sport.
It's just hopefully they're a sponge. Guy will learn from them. They'll sponge all that information in. You don't have to sit down and talk to hours to somebody when you're riding along. If you've got a question, just put it out there. Just one little. Don't annoy them. Don't keep on going on about something. But just one little thing here and there, and you'll learn over time. You'll learn more and more and more about this sport.
And it doesn't always have to come in a form of questions. When you ride with someone experienced, when you live with him, when you go with him to camps, to training camps, even when you do it in your club, you can see what the more experienced riders do, see how they recover, what are their routines. It's always good to learn from more experienced riders' routine. We're getting some more great views from our GoPro and live view units, giving us this great live broadcast over there. Number 52 was Alon Weitzman and Evgeny Shul from Speed Team.
A little tip I caught off Guy when he was started as a cadet and as a junior on the cross-country scene. A recovery meal, he wouldn't go and buy a shake or something like that. He'd just go and get a can of tuna, and he'd sit there and eat his can of tuna after his ride. I personally don't eat fish because I couldn't stand the smell. But then I found out that if you have a choco drink, a milk choco from the petrol station, it actually has a good amount of protein and not a lot of sugar in.
Really?
It works, and it's also liquid.
So we got a pro tip from a former winner of this Epic Israel here.
I didn't take it because I don't eat fish, but I said you're eating straight out of a tuna can. It's the best. It's the best and cleanest protein supplement you can get, he said.
Well, pro tip from one pro to another pro to you at home. Well, I believe you're all enthusiastic of the sport.
I'm no pro. I'm just loving it. I just like to be here. It's just a great opportunity, and I'd like to thank you and your father. I know your father is behind the screens. I haven't seen him for 3 days. I don't know where he's gone, but I'd just like to thank him.
Well, he's being busy producing this great feed that we're getting here. We see now the Spaniards at the front.
It's going to become technical, I think, isn't it? Because if they're going to sprint finish for a podium place today, it's going to become technical between them.
The question is, will they wait to the end, or will we see a move like we saw yesterday between the Germans and the Austrians? And the Germans are just flying down these roads, 19 kilometers to go. I believe they'll be here in about maybe 45 minutes, 50 minutes.
You can see the motorbike in the front. Oh, that's not a good place to stop on the corner, guys. Not in the inner side.
No, the riders would like to hit that apex in every corner, try to get as much road and the straightest line possible. They go from outer to the apex, again to the outer side of the road.
You can just see the difference in the pace, in the body language between the groups here. The Germans are all over it. They're not, I don't even think they feel any pain at all. They're in like a natural high, aren't they? Because they're in the lead and they're only going to finish first, it seems.
They are zen. And here we can see Gili Gonen and Eliad Daniel, so it seems like they're fifth on the road, behind the Czech duo.
Again, taking your time just to refresh, just to get a little something to eat. Make sure you got your water in your bottle and start over again. You can take 30 seconds, a minute. It's not going to affect you at all.
It is not. Excuse me, they're sixth on the road. There is one thing, they do need to look into the Czech duo, but they are 22 minutes behind them on GC, so they're not worried. I think their fifth place is pretty safe. What happens here is when you have two races, you have the GC race and you have the stage race. You want to be up in the GC, but you also want to be up in the stage. So you need to know how to manage your efforts throughout this race. Some riders would want to go for a stage, some riders would want to go for GC. Most riders here choose the general classification as it's mountain biking, and usually it's the stronger who wins. And it's Suryanir here.
Quite often on the Saturday, the families come up and they come and support their family members that are on the road, whether it's your father, your mother, or your daughter, or your son. It's a family sport.
It is a family sport, and I think all the community here is like a big family, isn't it?
Yeah. I think going back to the Spaniards and Israelis now, we saw that one Spaniard and one Israeli weren't quite on top of their game, a little bit tired. I think if they're going to make a big effort, a long effort, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt big time. I reckon they're going to try. They may try and grind each other into the dust, but I think we're going to go for a sort of a sprint, not into the finish here, because you cannot sprint in the finish, it's too late. It's going to have to be before they go into under the viaduct.
Well, Epic Israel, Bara Epic Israel, and couples races in general are the races between the weaker riders. And we do see the Spaniard and the Israelis have a weaker rider. It seems like Nadav Reisberg wasn't at the top of his game today, a little tired, and one of the Spaniards as well.
Obviously, we're not saying that he's not a good rider.
They're
because
amazing riders.
This is the top level, but you can notice a little bit of difference in fitness between them.
Well, it's a long race. Nadav has had a great race, and so have the Spaniards. Being here at the top, they've been racing out of their skin every day, despite the technical issues. I believe that without the technical issues, they would have been in third place overall. That's my personal feeling. But they've both been doing very well. Today, they're not at the top of their game. Their game is still very, very good. And it is the race of the not as strong riders. Or the strong, there is the strong and the stronger.
You're right, it's a grind. Who can survive? Who's got that little bit more form than the other? And luckily, I'm happy to see we haven't seen too many technical problems, punches, snake bites in these trails today. I think the riders have changed. I've seen the pro riders walking around with new tyres in their hands previously. I think they've got used to it. They realise they need a better tyre, a little bit more equipment.
Well, it's not their first day here. We can see a little move here. One Spaniard on the back,
And you can see
two Israelis on the front.
As soon as the pressure goes down, he's just suffering a little bit more than his partner.
And are the Israelis aware of that?
But it takes a big rider now to make an attack 20 k's out.
It does, although both teams are in pain.
Because again, you make the effort to break to snap the elastic, and then you've got to keep on that effort to keep the elastic snap. There's no point of making the break and then not being able to hold it. You make yourself. I mean, as an amateur, you make yourself look silly.
You do. And here we see Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov. Another great ride today.
And they were just behind Eliad Oded and his partner.
Eliad Daniel and Gili Gonen.
So it'll be interesting to see Shlomi. We haven't seen Shlomi and Omer for quite a long time now.
We haven't seen any of the mixed couple for a long time.
Oh, that's the Germans. I thought it was Shlomi for a second on the left.
No, these are the Germans, and they're racing. They're on their own, and they're still racing. We don't know how far behind the Austrians were. They were around 40 seconds or so earlier on in the intermediate point. We don't know where they are now, but they're not far. The Germans are not easing. Kenan Avi, number 33. And Father Shai, the champion. It's nice to see those signs, isn't it?
Now the masters here, they don't have to chase anybody. They know they're in the lead. They know that their competitors had a worse day than them yesterday. All they have to do is just keep on pedaling, keep that momentum going, that nice tempo ride, and they're going to take the today's podium and the overall podium.
They are in complete control of this race.
And when you're in control, you have less technical problems, don't you? It's when you're on the limit that everything starts to fall apart.
You do. You choose the wrong line, you go on the wrong rock and the wrong angle, and that's when you get your snake bite, when you go on that piece of metal that could puncture you, that's when mistakes are happening. But talking about Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov, they never look like they're going too quickly, but they're just so smooth, so strong. And even yesterday, when they didn't look like they're going so quickly, they were in the top 10 overall. They were great racers. Had a great race.
People start this race not knowing what's going to happen, what's going to go on, and you can be surprised. You can be disappointed as well, but isn't it such a great feeling when you're surprised that you can go over that level that you thought you couldn't do?
Well, I'm sure they knew that they can do well. Here we can see some more recreational riders and maybe riders of the one-day race on the side as the Germans are flying through. We're back with Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov making their way through that single track. They will soon head to those flat roads. Well, the Israelis didn't manage to make that break from the Spaniards. There was a little gap. They may try again later. We saw Gainiv and Weisberg. They're not people who will give up. They'll try again. They will want that third place. Even in today's stage, they know that the third place overall is probably gone. They can still get the place on this stage, and it's also important that we get as many podiums as possible. You can see a little issue there with the pedal. Shimano here helping every rider that gets in. Looks like Team M&M are having another great ride today. Pretty much at the front, having a great day, these guys. Aren't they Team M&M?
That's right. We keep on seeing them. I mean, they're great role models for younger riders.
They're improving every day in this race.
I tell you, if there's the coaches out there listening, these are the kind of riders you want to work with. They've still got room to improve, and they seem very, very up to the task.
They are up to the task, and so is Luca Baum going up to the front, leading now George Egger with his hands tight together, trying to get as aero and as comfortable as possible now on the road, going back to those long, far roads in between the trees. They're pretty close now. They're about 15, even less kilometers to go from the race village. After 2 hours of racing, another short day, another fast day today in the Bara Epic Israel. In the beautiful shot from the Isra copter helicopter right now.
We're seeing the water treatment site here. This is water that's used from sewage water. The water that goes down your drain goes to there, gets treated and gets irrigated on the farmlands. We try not to waste less water as possible.
Israel is a pioneer
in water treatment.
Exactly.
And use and reuse.
We don't like to waste water, we like to reuse it.
The only water that's been wasted, it's not been wasted, it's been thrown on the riders' backs here.
On their backs and on their bikes later on.
But always ask if you want to give a little, cool down a rider, always ask if he wants it. Some riders hate it.
It's not always pleasant. Here in the race village, we have some one-day racers coming in. You won't see them probably on the screen, but I guess the one-day racers are winning here.
This is the lead. This is the winners. I mean, they look young. We have a look at their numbers.
From Rochvei HaSharon, the riders of the Sharon area in the center of Israel.
883, a young couple, maybe 16 years old. They're super happy.
They must be excited. Here is Lahav Davidson with Ilon Cohen trying to pump up some air in those wheels.
Sorry, the young riders, they just finished doing a pro move, throwing the bike, going on the floor, pretending he's done everything.
Maybe they've watched the pros.
Yeah, you have to learn from the pros how to do that. Throw your bike properly.
We just saw Amos Geri, the volunteer in charge here of the feed zone.
He's a legend in cycling in Israel.
He's a legend. He's a former winner of this race as well.
I believe he was a pro road racer in his youth as well. I think so. That's correct. Anyway, that's what he told everybody. I remember.
Well, he is strong. Then it makes sense.
I'm going to check that fact with Doron here, our neighbor. He knows everything.
Well, we are behind George Egger and Lucas Baum and Viv Yechezkel still staying behind them. And George Egger is powering through those roads. They're both not easy for a moment. Here we're getting some more views from the Razor. We can see the face of our cameraman Ran Zachor. The Spaniards are again on the wheel of Guy Neve and Nadav Reisberg. Here we have the intermediate results of the Masters category. So first are indeed Noam Strashnov and Yuval Friedman. They're again opening a huge gap from their competitors, Chaim Dahan and Angelo Di Veroli. A 5-minute gap today, and it all happened on the climb and on the tracks.
I mean, I think that happened yesterday as well.
Well, it started yesterday and it's just continuing to happen.
It's an effect, it's an attrition effect. When you start to get tired, there's no coming back really.
Well, it looks like Shlomi broke away from Omer on that track, and now he was collecting things. He was collecting feeds and nutrition on the feed zone, and she just saw him and continued riding.
Now, I've just checked the fact about Amos Gori. He wasn't a pro rider, but we did have a pro rider in the 70s. I can remember in Skill Shimano, the famous team. I can't remember his first name, but it was Gershoni.
Yuda Gershoni.
Yuda Gershoni. I think he wrote a book as well, didn't he?
I'm unfamiliar with that.
No, you're a bit too young to remember that sort of stuff.
I am indeed. Back with the leaders, George Egger and Lucas Baum are on their way for another stage win here in Bara Epic Israel. They're not resting. The Austrians are on their case, trying to get back. We didn't see information from them for a long time. You can see two pairs of riders here. We don't exactly know who they are.
But they do have a mount. They have an e-bike behind them, don't they? So they must be leaders.
Can also be some riders from the one-day race.
I think that was the shot, the overshot of the Germans. There's the young riders again having fun, enjoying the race, and I mean they're riding with top pros, not for very long.
Not for very long. You can see how they're surprised by the exhilarating pace of those Germans, of those pros. And they're powering up this climb as well. They don't want to let this stage run away from them.
Of course, that's Summit Cabaret, Junction Cabaret. We're maybe 10 Ks to the finish. We're back to the Spanish and the Israelis again. Is that Gal's nephew? Is that Yuval?
I'm not sure it is. I don't see the pink bike.
We'll see. He's certainly taking a lot of water bottles. Maybe he's got more tea papers. Look how many water bottles he's got.
I think it may be Omer Lahav who is riding with Rotem Gafinovic, and here we get confirmations of the mixed results.
So that's why he's taking more water. He's taking her water for her.
Exactly. He may have gone on in the single track waiting for her. He is more technical. So confirmation of the results in the mixed category. First today in the intermediate point are Omer Shapira and Shlomi Chaimi. Second, and a minute and 40 seconds behind, are Omer Lahav and Rotem Gafinovic. Another great ride for this duo.
And here we just have our second young couple coming through, finishing the short track. They also look about 15 or 16. Let's see if they throw their bikes like the pros. Yeah, there they go. Oh, look at that. Like a pro, straight on the floor.
Well, you're not here to see it. It is, the atmosphere here in the race village is great.
You were talking about your idols. If your idol throws the bike and you fall on the floor, then you've got to do it, haven't you?
Well, absolutely. They see them on the TV every day. And here we are, nearly 10 kilometers to go, 2 hours and 10 minutes into this race. They'll be here before the clock reaches 2 hours and 30 minutes. They are flying on these roads. Still no difference made between the Spaniards and the Israeli riders. Again, Nadav Reisberg on the back. One of the Spaniards, we can't see his number for confirmation, is also on the back, but it's Guy Neve doing the work. These are the masters, the Grandmasters leaders, aren't there? Ronen Chirizi and Vitaly Frost. They took the lead yesterday.
And they're going forward. I mean, they're moving ahead.
Some 500-watt riders over there.
That's an interesting name, isn't it, for a team? 500-watt team. I don't know if they do actually produce 500 watts. That's quite a big number to make out.
Well, I was on the team. I could reach 500 watts, maybe for short periods. But I did reach it. Well, the coach used to say that was the goal, that you should reach for a minute or so effort.
A minute, 500 watt, and for people who don't understand this, that's a big, big effort, isn't it? I mean, if I was doing a sprint, I could hit 1,000. And if you ride for maybe, let's say, a long distance, 4 hours, you're probably doing 240, 250 watts for a big rider. That'd be a good number.
Yeah, well, the pros here even do 100 watts more.
Yeah, just amazing. They've got their watts coming out their ears, I think.
Well, not everything can go on those pedals. The bike would break one day.
Yeah, I mean, years ago you used to have heart monitors, didn't you? And you'd watch your heart rate, and that would be indication of how you're making your effort. These days, the heart monitor, if you're doing a 4-day effort, the heart monitor will lie to you. You won't be able to raise your heart, but you will still be able to produce the high amount of power, watts. So we moved on to watts these days.
Well, watts is a more obsolete way of measuring your effort, because with watts you can compare yourself to other riders.
Well, you have to divide your weight. Don't say I can produce 300 watts. Divide the weight, and then you get the real number.
Well, that matters when you climb, but when you go on the flats, it's mostly about your numbers.
Well, that's why we see the stronger riders.
The bigger riders.
Let's say in the Masters, Noam Schiller. He's a big guy. He produces huge great watts on the flat, but then that weight affects him on the climb, doesn't it? It slows him a little bit down.
It does, because in the climb, it's, as you said, it's the watts to weight ratio that matters, because then you have gravity pulling you down.
So we were talking yesterday about the teams, matching a team. You really, the best team you'll find are not too big a rider and not too smaller riders. Those middleweight riders that can actually fly up the climbs but still have enough power on the flats.
But if I'm big and if I'm small, I must find a teammate. You got us stuck.
That's right. You have to find someone to come and ride you. You can ride on your own, but only for one day.
No, and I believe everyone at home would also like to do the full race. It's a great experience.
It's a hard experience. It's an experience you'd never forget.
And I think none of us will forget also the ride that these Germans are doing at the front today. Lukas Baum is now leading the way. 9 kilometers to go. 9 kilometers left for this Bara Epic Israel. For the leaders of the men category, Luca Baum and George Egger.
And they're going to weave themselves through the fields. They're currently next to a little stream that runs all year round towards the sea. It'll be left and right, left and right. Gal won't let them have a straight road.
Well, he'll want to take as much as possible.
And we can see local riders here, Galilee, that's our area. You can see local riders enjoying themselves, having a drink of water.
Yeah, number 33 are Avi El Harar and Chen Schreiber. Little kiss there
Kiss
to the
for the
crowd.
child.
Maybe his little child over there.
Let's hope it's his child.
Here you can see Guy Neve still leading the pace. Nadav Reisberg on his back, and so are the Spaniards. They can't go away from them.
They can't shift them, can they? They're stuck like glue.
They are stuck like glue. Well, they did it very well for around 80 kilometers yesterday on the Germans and the Austrians. Some bikeway riders over there.
I'm pretty sure that was Angelo.
I'm pretty sure they have an IGP jersey
Look,
today.
Here we go, discussion. Do we know you don't want the water? I'll get it. You carry on. So Angelo is a couple of minutes, Angelo and Jaime are a couple of minutes down, aren't they?
We already saw their times, and I'm pretty sure they have IGP jerseys today.
Yeah, because that's the team they ride for in the south. It's a big team, isn't it?
In the center.
Center, sorry, I'm
South
from the
to
north.
here.
Honestly, anything lower is southern than Haifa is south for me.
Well, as a center person, it's not the case.
Yeah, it's a very big club, isn't it, IPG?
IGP is indeed a very great club. You can see the helicopter on the background and the images from the e-bike. We're getting images from all over the race, from the air, from the ground, from the bikes.
And we haven't seen the Austrians, have we?
We haven't, and we don't know how far behind they are. They're on. They're absolutely on. Gregor Ragel and Karl Mark take some time to turn on, especially Charlie, but they were on, and they're around 40 seconds behind them. We don't know how far they are. Maybe we'll get a wider shot now with the helicopter. Trying to look back, we still can't see them. The Germans seem safe. The riders in front of them can be one-day racers, and I believe that if the Austrians would have closed the gap, you would have seen it from the e-bike from our cameraman Aviv Yechezkel.
Yeah, you can see them swapping, changing over on the front. They're still going to work. They're not sitting down just enjoying themselves here. They are racing to the finish.
Not at all. They're taking turns. They're working. They're not slowing down. We can see some.
We can see a bit of change. One of the Spaniards has gone on the front now.
Here are Yuval Friedman and then Noam Strashnov just going up and down, the master leaders of this race. Another epic race for them. It's the 7 kilometers to go are obviously for our leaders, George Egger and Lucas Baum.
And the teenagers here are coming over in as couples. They're not stopping. They're coming more and more now, youngsters, over the finish line on the one-day race.
We can see some NCC riders here, Aviv Dahan and Jonathan Baron. And we saw earlier today they're going through the bananas, not stopping for a banana, but making their way back to the race village. More and more one-day riders are coming back in, and more crowds are getting here to the race village, waiting to welcome the winners of this Bara Epic Israel, and probably the winners of this stage if no big issues will happen for them.
I think the DJ is starting to turn the volume button up here. I mean, it's becoming quite electrical. The kids are here watching. The DJ's got, I think it's going to get out of control in a couple of minutes.
The families are here, and it is electric.
Now the 16-year-old boys here now have just finished their race. I mean, they're going to have to see their idols come in quite soon, aren't they?
Everyone is dropping their bike nowadays.
That's the look you have to have, guys. Drop your bike.
That's the new wave, but keep it safe and drop it not on your rear derailleur, drop it on the left. It's a little safer, isn't it?
I don't think their parents are happy seeing that look, you know.
No, but still keep that derailleur safe. Still can't see the Austrians behind the Germans. They know they're close. They can sense the race village now. 6 kilometers to go. 6 kilometers for the Bara Epic Israel to end. It's been such a race, hasn't it?
It has, but it has been a fair race, and our UCI commissioner here, where was he from? Was he from Switzerland? I can't remember.
Austria.
Austria. He hasn't had much work to do, has he, all the 4 days?
No, he just had to follow the results, make sure everything is going as planned.
And correct.
He didn't have any complaints. He was just here watching every once in a while.
He said he was working hard, but he said that while sitting down with a cup of coffee.
If that's working hard for him, then I want to go to Austria as well. We can see Aviv Yechezkel is rocking a nice kit today, isn't he?
And the pink shorts look again.
The nice yellow Trek e-bike with him as well. He can pedal pretty easily following this German. Not everyone can do it. We saw no regular rider can do it.
Now again, those e-bikes cut out. The motor cuts out at 25 k's an hour, and he has to ride. If he wants to get faster than that, he has to add on the power.
Well, he told me he has his little tricks. Maybe he can do a little more than 25 with the electricity on. The Spaniards are now at the front, so they're both taking turns, maybe hoping they can catch the Austrians, but they both know they're racing for a 3rd place on this stage, the final stage of Bara Epic Israel. You can see some more bikeway riders here with the bikeway bottle.
Isn't that Lior? I think his name is Lior, or...
When we'll see his number, we can get confirmation of that. 544, which is the Grandmaster category. It was Ziv Anfi and Yaakov Cohen.
Okay. There's a Leo Hacker as well. I think he looks quite similar to him. But you can see the Masters are coming in thick and fast now.
They're in the feed zone at the end of most of the tracks. They still have the long roads to get here to the race village. You can see our riders here, George Egger and Lucas Baum. Making their way back. They're racing. In front of them are one-day racers.
I mean, this is your chance as a one-day racer to try and keep up to the minute. Taste the pace.
Well, I'm not sure they can keep up for a long time.
If you keep up for 50 meters, 100, you still feel like a pro for a minute. I have to say, I used to ride cross-country races in the spring, and we had some top UCI racers come over in Misgav. At one point, I was racing with them. I started a minute behind. In the technical singles, they caught me after about 35 minutes, and I went into a downhill single fast with a jump with the 2 lead riders just behind me, and I took the jump, and I knew they were there, pulled over, and then they just whizzed past, and I shouted out, "I'm in the lead, I'm in the lead."
Well, it's always fun to race with these pros.
There's nothing like it. I mean, if you were playing football or something, basketball, you wouldn't be allowed on the court or the pitch, would you, with the pros?
No, you wouldn't. And again, that's what's so beautiful about this sport.
You just have to give them space to do their job. They are a job for them, and they have to bring results back. So we don't want to interfere with them at all, do we?
They do have to. They want to get their contracts for their team for the next years. They want to get more and more sponsors, and the more wins they get, the more sponsors they get. So don't interfere with their jobs. Give them their respect, and they'll give you back their respect.
Let's have more cadets coming over the line now. They look pretty. They've had a hard day on the track today, these couple.
We're back with the chasing group. The second chasing group on the road. We remind you, in the middle are the Austrians, Gregor Ragel and Karl Marx. We haven't seen them for a while. And the Germans are still rocking this race. George Egger now on the back, just sprinting a little bit to get on the wheel of his partner, Lucas Baum. I wonder now, Lucas said he hasn't been racing for a long time. Will he go back racing after such a great experience here?
It certainly does refill your tank. It does fill you up. It gives you an appetite to have more. I mean, if he came here and had problems and was suffering and was in that little hurt locker too long, you'd probably think, why do I need this? What am I doing?
Well, I think now he's understanding why he's doing it. He's about to win the Bara Epic Israel for his first time. Will be George Egger's third time, but his first. The beautiful shot here with the helicopter in the air and the riders leaving dust behind them. Nobody else can follow. We can see many birds here in the sky. Israel is actually a point for a crossing of many birds.
Migration point, that's right, from Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Germany. The cranes, their crane birds come down, they fly through and they go to Africa in the summer and come back in. So they go in the winter, this is the time they go down, and in the summer they come back again. Or the spring, you'll see them here in March, April time, flying north again back.
So you can see millions of birds here in March, April, and now we can see Karl Markt is leading Ruggeragel. Karl Markt is now on. It looks like the gap is about a minute or two. I don't think they'll close it with 3 kilometers left.
No, you can see by their body language they're just going to finish now. They're not going to take the power off the pedals, but they know they're not going to catch the Germans. They just want to keep ahead of the other two couples coming up from behind.
Well, I guess they'll just stay in second place. They're satisfied with that. Rugel did talk to you this morning. He told you that they're not planning on attacking, that they just follow the wheels. They feel the tiredness after this race.
No, the springiness in their legs have gone, and it's just going to be a grind, he said.
And they are grinding their way back pretty well. They are in second place, not so far behind the leaders. Another very respectable result for them.
We just see the UCI judge coming to have a little look now, see them if it's okay, and how people are going to finish. I think he's had his coffee. He can't hear us either.
Well, we are again with the master leaders. It seems like again NCC over there at the front. We're still waiting to see, is anything happening between the Israeli and the Spaniards? They're both racing for third place on this stage. It's going to be a big race. I wonder if we're going to have a sprint to the line and we're going to have a little attack before. We had 2 riders, one from each team, a little bit suffering. Not in their best days.
We're not going to have to wait very long, are we, to see it? It's going to happen quite soon. All joking apart about the UCI Commercier, this has been an event, a trouble-free event, hasn't it, really? And I'm sure there's a Gal and his team here with the deed in Bara Epic Israel going to be so happy it's passed perfectly.
Well, when you work on it for a whole year and you put most of your efforts into an event like this, then you get your payment back. I'm not sure. It's like you get your paycheck back because they worked on it. They wanted it to be good. They wanted it to be great, and it is a great event.
I mean, so many things can go wrong here, can't they? With riders having problems, crashing, medical problems, technical problems. Everything's worked. The TV. I hope everything's worked anyway with the TV and our feed.
Well, looks good here. We can see a great feed. Hope you're enjoying the race as well. Now we see Nadav Reisberg.
And you can see he's grinding, isn't he? He hasn't got that zip in his legs anymore. The zip has left him.
Well, he left the zip behind. There were 3 hard days to leave it behind. You can see a little wave to the helicopter over there from Lucas Baum.
I think this is the last race of the season, is it, for these guys, and they're going to be off and they're going to have a well-earned break.
Well, it is late October, so usually it is the last race of the season here in Bara Epic Israel.
And what a way to finish the season.
A spectacular way to finish the season.
I'm going to be a cliche now and say it's an epic way to finish.
There's no better way of putting it. Guy Neve is on the front, still setting a pace, keeping the pace high. They're not attacking yet.
Yes, well, they're keeping the pace so you're not letting the weaker Spanish rider recover so well. You have to think, you don't want to hurt your rider, but you want to hurt your opposition's rider.
Well, it's a hard balance to find, not to hurt your rider, but hurt the opposition rider. It did look like Nadav Reisberg is doing better. He was at the front, in front of the wind for a little while. Maybe marking Guy, saying, I'm fine, maybe we can do something. And they're getting closer to the race village. They are coming close,
because we can see the hotel there. They're on the back of us now. There's
and a pat on the back over there.
And they know they've got it. Unless someone has a heart attack now on the path, which we won't wish for anybody, they've got it.
500 meters to go. I'm excited to see them.
Well, they're going to come up. Now the Akotaki, this is the place they're going to have to make a difference with the Israelis and the Spanish riders, aren't they? After this, it's finished.
It's finished because it's getting narrow. You got lots of twists and turns.
Now we can hear the helicopter above us.
Well, George Egger and Lucas Baum has had a great race. They won the prologue. They won the first stage. They won the second stage.
They've won everything.
They seemed unbeatable. We can see now the motorbike is getting
Helicopter,
through.
maybe this young rider thinks the helicopter's for him, but he'll soon realize that there are two giants coming behind him.
They are giants. They are amazing.
Here they come, we can see them now. And the young rider, I think the young rider's just ahead.
Well, Lucas Baum and George Egger are here. You're about to see them any moment. I must say, I don't know what to say anymore.
Oh, I think we've said so much, but it is fantastic.
Well, I'm lost for words with these guys. Lucas Baum and George Egger are the winners of Bara Epic Israel.
2021, look at their faces, they're so happy. I mean, it's just been, as Gal would say, a fabulous race for them.
It's been a great race for these guys. No one could stop them, winning every stage and obviously winning the general classification. And they're smiling, they're happy, they're easy.
I mean, we would want to go out one for an interview at the moment, but I don't think we can be able to get in there, are we? We're going to leave it for the TV guys.
Well, we would love to get them, but you can see there are many, you can't see it, but there are many cameras around them.
They're very popular.
They are popular now. Well, they are the winners.
That's right, but we would like to go back to the Spanish and the Israeli duos, because that's where actually the action's going to happen soon after this.
We are waiting to see what's going on with them. We will see the Austrians, Gregor Rogel and Karl Markt in a moment. A very nice ride for them as well.
It's a solid ride, isn't it? You can often, we've seen from them that you can have an off hour, an off day, half a race, but still come back. If you know you've got it, it's going to come out in the end.
And they trust themselves. Here we're back with the big race within the race for third place.
It's only the race because the Germans have actually stamped their foot on the race here, and they've shown everybody who's the boss.
They have, and you couldn't get close to them. They powered away at the beginning of the stage, leaving only the Israeli riders with them. And even they couldn't hold on the climb. They just kept on powering away. They didn't even have to attack. They were just powering away, just showing that and saying, we are the strongest riders here.
Well, the Israeli riders can say, we tried everything, we didn't have it, that's okay. Often, the most important thing is to give everything on the track.
It is, and it is not for the lack of try.
And we're going to see 4 guys now try and sprint to get on the podium.
We can see George Egger is just about to get on the Israeli TV right now, so he may lose some of the shots. But here we can see Guy Niv on the front, still pulling his way back. He's been doing most of the work now. Do you think it will affect him in the finish?
No, he was always able to raise his game and just give that little sprint.
So we're happy to see George Egger and Lucas Baum. We hope to see exactly this image of the big race.
And that's great because we've got a split view here. We're going to see both, all the action we're going to see and the interview.
So Nadav Reisberg and one Spaniard, they're still on the back. Guy Niv is getting off the wind a little bit, resting. Looks like it may go to a sprint finish, as you said. On the back, you can see some more one-day racers finishing their race.
I think we're going to see racers finishing in here for the next 3 hours. They're going to come in thick and fast.
Even 3.5 hours. The cut time is 6 hours today, even a little bit over 6 hours. So they have time. They can enjoy the views, enjoy the ride, enjoy the last stage of Bara Epic Israel.
We can just see Omer there. We haven't seen her for a while with Shlomi.
They found a nice train. They're riding behind CCC riders.
It's always nice to get a free ride.
You can't see it on your image, but the Austrians, Gregor Rogel and Karl Markt, are about to get here into to cross the finish line.
It's the last turn for them, and they've got second place wrapped up already.
They have second place 2018, second place in 2019, and another second place in 2021. It's Gregor Ragel and Charlie Marks. A great ride for these guys. Chapeau.
Big respect. I mean, they must be happy with second place, but what are they going to do to get first next year?
Well, they'll have to keep on working, and they're riding right into the cameras.
And now we can see the typical Israeli style of getting the microphone straight in the face there.
No moment of respite.
There's no
for them.
moment. Get the questions in quick.
Well, actually, back to your question, I don't know if anyone can beat the Germans. They're just so strong. And now we see a move. Nadav Reisberg on the front,
As we
Guy
said,
Nieve on the back. It is a race between the second place.
that's right, and the Spanish rider is the weaker rider out of the four there, and it's happening before they turn under the Akotak, as we said.
Yes, after that, it's going to be twists and turns, and the Israelis are doing a pretty smart tactic, putting Reisberg on the front, the slightly weaker rider today.
That's right. And if they're on the front, they're going to boss it. They're not going to let them pass them.
Well, they're calm, fixing their jerseys.
That's it.
taking
They have to sprint out of the corner.
Well, we lost the shot of them. We'll see them in a moment.
We're
We're
gonna
waiting here at the finish line, hoping to see who will get that third place on the final stage of Bara Epic Israel. Will it be Guy Nieve and Nadav Reisberg, or will it be the Spaniards, Manuel and Victor?
The guys, just keep safe, keep safe. It's not worth coming off just for the third place. Maybe it is for them.
Well, it is lots of points, but we still want to see everyone staying upright on their bike. They'll be here any moment now. We're waiting
there
for
in
them.
the distance.
I can feel it.
And
I
there's
can
the
see
sprint,
Nadav Reisberg
sprint,
and Guy
there's the
Nieve.
sprint, you see.
What a great move from these guys. The Spaniards are too far behind. It's going to be Reisberg and Nieve getting the third place on this stage. Great work for them. They tried and tried and tried. They tried again on that third place on GC, but they will get that third place on this stage. A great ride for these guys throughout the race. Guy Nieve and Nadav Reisberg. Great work.
What a great feeling for them, eh? And also the Spaniards, I mean, they're no mugs, are they? They're good riders. They just didn't have the sprint. And then we can see the Spaniards congratulating the
handshake over
Israelis.
there.
I mean, we're all friends on the track, aren't we?
We are, and it was a fair race. No dirty moves. And the Spaniards, a great ride for them. They're going to be third on general classification in Bara Epic Israel.
Yep. I mean, what an experience for Nadav here. I think he's moved up a class. I think he's moved up a level with this race. I mean, he'll be able to take this on and next year improve even more.
Well, they say training camps improve you, but races improve you even more.
You can just see in his eyes, he's totally empty.
He is empty.
But that's what you have to do to get on a podium in this kind of race. Completely empty yourself. There's no reason to leave anything left in the tank.
And I think we're just about to hear from Lucas Baum, the winner of every stage in this Bara Epic Israel, the winner of the whole race.
I mean, it's crazy. There's so much action going on, but we have actually grabbed him. He's got a nice lolly.
Yeah, to cool down.
I think you deserve it. Hang on, just move the headphones onto you. You can talk.
We're going to be sweaty afterwards.
Okay, doesn't matter.
Thank you.
Well, Lucas, you haven't rested for a day. You started from the beginning of this race and of the stage to just race on and try and get on your own.
Yeah, actually we felt pretty good in the beginning again. We knew that the Austrians may be a bit asleep or not as recovered as we are. So we tried to push from the beginning again. A bit of change of tactics because I think they would have expected an attack in the last kilometers today. I think that's what they were calculating with. Yeah, then we tried to pace in the beginning. Actually, the Israelis were following us. I think the road experience of Guy came into play here, and they helped us quite a lot in the beginning.
Well, do you have any secrets for this kind of good recovery? You've been strong every day. You've been the strongest every day.
No, actually not. We're just normal guys. I mean, our legs are hurting too.
Of course.
It's just that we're a bit faster than the others.
Well, you are way faster than the others. Congratulations on a great race, Lucas. It was great to see you. Great to have you here. Will you come back next year?
Definitely. I think if we have the chance, we'll definitely come here, and we're gonna come with our own team. So it's a bit of change after this season for Georg. Georg is leaving the team, and I'm joining the professional cycling again. And we are creating right now our own team, and we're actually looking for sponsors. So if we, if our performance is welcomed by other sponsors, please contact us over the social media, and we are going to perform next year for sure.
Well, you guys have sure had a great performance, and you do deserve great sponsors. So good luck with your new team, and good luck.
Thank you. And I have to say a big props to you guys, to the commentary. I mean, we are after the race. We have quite a lot of time in the hotel room, so we're analyzing afterwards the race too. And you were actually quite right with a lot of your commentary about the tactics and what we're about to do. So you definitely did a great job too.
Thank you very much. It was great having you guys.
Yeah, you're welcome.
See you next year.
Yeah, see you.
Also during the week, it's different to a normal job.
Hello, Gregor. How was your race today?
Yeah, we had not the best start as we saw on the TV, I guess. Charlie had to suffer quite hard in the first half an hour. But after that, he started his engine, and yeah, we closed the gap to the Israeli and almost to the leading group. We were almost half a minute back at the feed zone, and yeah, we had a good ride. It was fun all in all, and coming home in second is a great result.
So you're happy with your results here?
Yeah, for sure we want to come back and win at least one time, but I think as long as the Germans are here as well, it's going to be hard. But yeah, let's see what next year brings, and we don't give up.
So we'll see you guys next year.
Yeah, can't say it yes for sure, but we really like Israel, and we really like the Bara Epic Israel, and the whole venue and everything is great, the atmosphere, and yeah, why not coming back?
No reason.
Yeah.
Did you get to travel in Israel a little bit?
No, we are going home straight tomorrow, so yeah, it's end of season. We are going back home to family and friends, and yeah.
So relaxing now a little bit?
Yeah, as we said, we're having off season now, a few weeks off the bike, doing different stuff what we haven't time enough during the season. But yeah, 1st of November or first week of November, we are starting building up for the next season already.
So what are the plans for next year? More cross-country racing?
Yeah, I will stay definitely in cross-country racing, as the qualification for Olympics is already starting at the end of May. So it's going to be another tough season like every season, and yeah, that's it.
So good luck next season. It was great having you this year again, and we hope to see you again next year.
Yeah, let's see. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gregor. Well, here we can see Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov are getting closer and closer to the race village. It looks like they're up for another stage win in the Masters category today. Here we can see the finisher medals, which every rider who finished the full Bara Epic Israel will get here. We're just about to be joined by Guy Niv, the winner of the Israeli category.
Guy looks happy. He's got a smile on his face today.
Hello.
Hi Guy, how was your race today?
Oh, I enjoyed it so much. Today was a really nice day. It turned out to be a full gas start. The Germans were pulling full, and we just went for this opportunity. We find ourselves the only couple that managed to stay with them, and we say it's all or nothing. That's how we started the race.
Yeah, we saw you made the selection. It must have been a great feeling, surely.
Yeah, it is, because as I said in the previous days, I didn't feel so comfortable technically, and today it was all about taking those turns with smoothly and then maintain the speed and do. I still had to do more extra effort than the others, but today I managed to do it. And then at the moment that we were on the road with them, I just went to pull with them and we tried to make the gap as big as possible. Unfortunately, later Nadav was struggling a bit with the pace and we couldn't manage it all the way. But that was our only chance and we went for it.
Yeah, but Nadav's a younger rider, isn't he? He's only going to get bigger.
He's only going to get better, his engine is going to get bigger. And I had really fun days racing with him, riding with him. He's a real athlete, a real fighter, and I'm looking forward to see what the future brings to him.
Well, Guy, as you said, it was very tight near the end. Did you have any plans what to do? Did you wait for the sprint? Did you want to attack?
I had a feeling that one of the Spanish riders is really, really tired, so I was not stressed at all. I knew that with one big acceleration towards the end, we will do it, and I also knew that they will not be so motivated because they knew that they have the podium on the GC. We couldn't make any big gap, so at least we went for the podium of the stage.
Yeah, we could see that on the TV that the second Spanish rider was suffering most of the day, and we were saying that it's so hard to grind in to make a gap 10, 20 Ks out that you would wait for the sprint and finish the sprint off before you went under the aqueduct.
Yeah, exactly, that was the plan. That was what we did, and at least we took the podium spot today, which was the maximum that we can get today.
Well, Guy, it was great having you this race. Great seeing you in this race and following you throughout the whole year in the Grand Tours.
And Guy, what do you know your next race, the first next race year, or are you still unsure?
Well, first, thanks for having me. I had really fun days around here. And about next season, at the moment I'm just gonna enjoy a bit of the off season. I still don't know the plans. I guess that towards November, December, we will start to work on my race program towards 2022.
Well, the beach is only 1K over here, so get your swimming trunks on and go to the beach. You deserve it.
Thank you very much.
Go have fun and good luck. We're back with Noam Strashnov and Yuval Friedman. On their way back, getting closer and closer to the race village and closer to that second stage win for these guys. You can't see it right now, but the Czech duo, Milan Damek and Jan Jobanek, are about to get here in the race village. They're about to make 5th place. Another solid ride for these guys. They're happy with their finish.
I mean, they knew from the first day they weren't going to be able to compete for the top position. But I mean, it's a fantastic building block for them for next year and a very solid race they've had.
You can see everyone here needs to cool off a little bit after this day. A little warmer today, got up to nearly 30 degrees. Confirmation of the results today seems like it may have been the intermediate results.
Again, the chips on the bike sometimes don't get picked up. We can see the leaders in the 40-year-old category are coming in.
Here are the official results of today's stage 3 of Bara Epic Israel. The winners, Lucas Baum and George Egger in 2nd place. Karl Markt and Gregor Rogel all the way from Austria, 3rd place. Reisberg, Nadav and Guy Niv beating the Spaniards, Victor Fernandez Gran and Manuel Corredo Morgado. Just by a few seconds, 10 minutes later, came in the Czech duo, Jan Jobanek and Milan Damek.
Now we're back on the e-bike for Shlomi and Omer. And still they're being pulled along. That free ride we were talking about, that's helping them along now. I mean, the competitors are a little bit further behind. They probably don't have too much pressure today, do they? But they do have to finish.
They do have to finish, and they would enjoy another visit to the top step of the podium for this stage as well. And it looks like they're on the way for another stage win.
And the two masters ride on the front here also be enjoying themselves, knowing they're pulling along. These two riders have been to 3 Olympics together, haven't they? That's a great feeling for an amateur.
It's a great feeling, and they do get some TV coverage. Aviv Dahan and Jonathan Baron from NCC Scott.
If only they could hear us, they could give us a little wave as well for the families.
Well, maybe the families are listening, and they may be listening later. A great ride for these guys. Haven't seen them yet in this race. Looks like they're having a good day.
Yep. So often you don't see riders, they're very solid, you don't hear them. They're not very loud riders, we call them. They don't make a lot of noise, but they are solid riders, and they obviously have a high level of fitness to be at this level.
Well, riders here, as we've been saying, have been practicing for a whole year or for much of the year towards an event like Epic Israel. Everybody wants to make it to the event. When the registration opens, all the slots are getting sold really, really quickly. We're just seeing the backs of Eliad Daniel and Gili Gonen. Another great ride for them. They're going to finish in 6th today. They're going to keep their 5th place overall, I believe.
And that's the second Israeli couple, isn't it, coming over the line?
It is Eliad Daniel and Gili Gonen. A great ride for these guys.
And it's all smiles in the end.
We're back with Shlomi Chaimi and Omer Shapira.
Now, talking about what the riders tomorrow, they won't be racing, but you know what they'll be doing? They'll be looking on the internet, searching Facebook for pictures of themselves, little videos. They'll be loving it. And they're sending to their friends. They find their friends' pictures. It's part of the fun here.
It is part of the fun, getting some nice pictures after a nice race. We have great views here at the Bara Epic Israel.
And I have no idea how many cameramen, photographers are on the track, but they seem to be everywhere.
Well, we saw them everywhere, and we, as the TV broadcast, have 6 or 7 cameras all over the road, so we get images from a wide range of racing here, from the mix, from the masters, from the elite men.
That's right. It's not only UCI pro riders here. We want the amateurs to come.
We can see the replay of today's race. We started here in the race village. The final stage of Bara Epic Israel started today. The latest start we had, 8 a.m. We had a bigger amount of riders today with the one-day racers coming in. We had 800 riders today in the race village, a record number.
Yeah, the 8 a.m. start just helps the one-day riders to come from their home. Maybe have an hour to travel. It's up to 2 travels. I know riders here will quite happily drive 2 or 3 hours to get here in the morning.
Well, it's an event worth driving for.
And they're starting to come thick and thin. The one-day riders are coming over the line every 30 seconds.
And the pace was high today from the beginning. George Egger and Lucas Baum were just feeling good.
And there's my friend Uzi Galili, 61 years old, coming over the line with his partner.
Good job for Uzi Galili. So the Germans, as we said, were setting a stellar pace up the front. The Austrians and the Spaniards both had one rider in the front group, but didn't have their companion. And as we all know, it's a couples race and you have to wait for your mate. So the Germans were only left with Guy Nieve and Nadav Reisberg. Guy Nieve and Nadav Reisberg try to stay as long as possible with the leaders, but they just couldn't manage it. Nadav Reisberg was suffering today a little bit after a long race. He had a great race. Nadav riding out of his skin every day, being with the top pros over here. He's a pro himself. And George Egger and Lucas Baum were left on their own to ride on their single tracks, and they opened a bigger and bigger gap. Eliad Daniel and Gili Gonen also have a great ride, and we had a visit from the gravel club who was cheering the riders on the road. The gap near the feed zone between George Egger and Lucas Baum and the Austrians, Karl Markt and Gregor Ragel, wasn't too big. It was under a minute, even around 30 seconds, as Gregor told us earlier. Guy Nieve, Nadav Reisberg, and the Spanish Victor and Manuel were together fighting for 3rd place. Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov had another great ride today, managing to ride on themselves. We had some great spectators. We had families on the roads at the feed zones. George Egger and Lucas Baum may have not had their family here, but I think they feel at home.
But they can listen online to us, can't they?
And we hope they do. And Shlomi couldn't stop whipping even today. Gregor Ragel and Karl Mark kept 2nd place safely. And you can see celebrations on the way to the race village before getting the stage victory and the race overall victory. George Egger and Lucas Baum had a great ride, winning every stage of this Bara Epic Israel. 2nd in today and 2nd in nearly every stage. The Austrians behind them. Guy Nieve and Nadav Reisberg won the fight for 3rd place, but unfortunately didn't win the fight for 3rd place on GC, which belongs to Victor Fernandez-Gran and Manuel Corredo Morgado.
Well, they've got a fabulous target to come back next year, haven't they?
They do, but I think next year the field is going to be even harder. It's going to be packed with more international riders, hopefully, that couldn't arrive this year due to coronavirus restrictions.
Well, that just means you have to raise your level again, doesn't it?
well, I think both of them are going to keep on raising their level as the years go by.
I mean, isn't it fun for amateur riders to take that journey and raise their level year by year?
It is fun. It's what they're racing for, it's what they're practicing for. It looks like Omer Shapira has had a little tumble today, but she's still rolling pretty fine. Omer Shapira and Shlomi Chaimi are still sitting on their wheel. They're not in a hurry at all.
There's a little bit of a shortcut going on there.
And are we going to see the little bunny hop? Oh no.
UCI Commissioner? No, he's still having his cup of coffee.
He is working.
He is, we're all friends here, we're just having a bit of fun.
Just watching the riders coming in, writing notes on his little notebook.
If you can't have fun, where are you going to have fun, eh?
This is the place to have fun, Bara Epic Israel. We have more spectators here than we had in any day.
They're all lined up, everybody's come out, it's Saturday, no school, no work. And there's a whole vibe going on here now. I can see a lot of people from the bike industry just chit-chatting between themselves. If you want to have meetings or meet somebody, reconnect with somebody, this is the time and place to do it.
This is the place. And we're just about to see Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov.
I mean, we saw yesterday that the depth they have. They're also 10 years younger than Chaim and Angelo. I think it just took the toll on Chaim. And we know also they've been to the Worlds, Chaim and Angelo. And this is just an extra for them as well, they said.
It is an extra. And it's not only the depth that Yuval and Noam have, it's the experience. They're so cool.
Calm.
Even when they weren't at the top, you didn't see them going out of their skin. You didn't see them doing something that puts them in danger. They know their limits. They know how they should ride. And they know how to win a stage race.
I mean, they're so calm. You don't see any emotion on them at all, but the emotion's coming out now. They're lifting their arms up to get the crowd going.
And they got us going.
And it's all smiles again. I mean, every couple that comes across this finish line has a smile on his face. Or her face, sorry.
Great job for Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov, the winners of the Master category. What a ride.
And maybe we'll try and get one of them to speak to us what the TV's doing in a second.
That'll be great. So we're just about to try and get Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov, although they seem like a pretty popular guys.
Yeah, I think Doron's managed to get both of them together.
Draw.
Draw.
It is a Dror package indeed, the Israeli commentator for the Israeli TV. So Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov got another stage win here for the Masters category, finishing in the top 10, I believe finishing 7th on the day today. So they'll keep their 7th place overall, and they'll keep their leaders Masters jersey, that beautiful Jenga blue and black jersey that indicates that they are the best Master riders. It is indeed their first year in the Masters category, being summing up just over 80 years altogether. And they just rock the category, and it looks like they can rock it for years to come. We're back with the mixed category leaders, riding behind those NCC riders. So Shlomi Chaimi and Omer Shapira are having a more relaxed ride. We're about to be joined by Noam Strashnov, the winner of the mixed category. Just getting them prepared. Well, we're here with Noam Strashnov. Noam, how was your race today?
It was good, very steady, and we were strong. We had a nice gap from yesterday, and we kept it. It was very good today.
Well, you weren't on the front of the top two stages, but then you just kept your pace and got to the front of the next stages. Was that your tactic from the beginning? You just wanted to stay cool?
No, really, there wasn't any tactics. You know, we usually start slow, and then gradually we get better and better each and every day, and that's the way it was this time. So we're happy with it.
Well, you did the Bara Epic Israel, you did the Cape Epic. How does the Bara Epic Israel feel compared to the Cape Epic?
It gets closer to the Cape Epic each and every year. I mean, the organization is amazing, and the tracks, the single tracks are awesome. So it gets closer and closer. Now all you have to do is get it to up to 7 or 8 days, and we're good.
So you won the Masters category, and looks like you're going to be up there in years to come. Are you planning on winning it in the next 10 years as well?
We sure hope so, yeah.
Great. So it was great seeing you racing. Good luck.
Thank you.
We're back at the back of the group with Shlomi Chaimi and Omer Shapira. Still getting closer and closer to the race village. We are going to welcome them very soon for another stage win.
I've just noticed that those two riders have been riding Continental X-Race tyres. They are probably the better marathon tyres you can get, aren't they?
Well, Continental do have great tires for races like this.
I can remember years ago they used to ride another brand and they would punch it quite a lot.
We won't mention names, but we do know that they did win the race on Continental tires. The atmosphere is great. The DJ has pumped his music up.
There's an old joke saying he's gone up to 11.
We are up to 11 here at the Bara Epic Israel.
And it's just nice to talk to riders that have a day job and do this for fun, don't they?
Well, they do it for fun, and they crashed the race. They're just talking to that Czech duo over there. You can't see it. Switching jokes. They were just riding pretty close to each other. They're so good.
I mean, it's a lot of respect, isn't it? If you ride at that level, it's respect for everybody around here.
It is respect for everybody, and they did have a very respectful ride. They will finish 7th overall.
And we've just got M&M's coming in again. They seem to take a lot of our time up, but they've got quite... And they've happy. Oh, there's the throw of the bike on the floor.
Well, they had a great ride. If I'm not mistaken, they may have been 8th on today's stage. They're just improving from day to day.
And you see, that's the new style, kids. Throw the bike, lay on the floor and get the water.
But just keep your bike safe. You don't want your parents to get pissed off. So great job for Mustafa Rageb and Mohamed Yaha, Team M&M. Now Shlomi Chaimi and Omer Shapira may try and improve placing, and maybe because they're thinking of that top 10 overall as well, aren't they?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe the masters ahead of them are also in the overall race as well.
Well, they are 9th overall, and they don't want to lose a second. So they're improving placing. They just passed an IGP rider over there.
I mean, I don't think there's no sprinting to go on now, is there, with this group?
Well, it is sprinting for the top 10, and top 10 places in the Bara Epic Israel are honorable as well.
There we go.
High fives over there from the crowd.
That's one of our one-day rises. He looks over 60 and he's having fun.
So we see one IGP rider on the front, 2 NCC riders, and then I think we're going to see Shlomi Chaimi and Omer Shapira, so they're not going to close on the NCC riders.
Yeah, that's Angelo and Chaim coming in.
Yeah, it is, but I think they're going to finish ahead of Angelo and Chaim, because it seems like Chaim's on the back.
Yeah, Chaim's on the back, yeah. Oh, so it was Angelo and Chaim, so they're not having a bad day at all today.
Not a bad day at all. It's just hard to race Yuval Friedman and Amstel Shnov. And the winners of the mixed category are coming in after a great race, Omer Shapira and Shlomi Chaimi.
And we just see Noam and Chaim having a little hug, a little release of their tension there. They've had a good race today.
They had a good race, they're happy. They're 2nd overall. They had a bad day yesterday. They won it last year, they won it the year before. This year they're 2nd, and they were beat fairly, and they were beat by the strongest pair here, the strongest master pair. Yuval Friedman and Noam Strashnov had an outstanding ride, and so did Chaim and Angelo.
And their competitors have just waited there for them. They congratulate him, and now they're having a little exchange of stories already.
Well, it's nice to see that talking between them, the little jokes, the good atmosphere is the good atmosphere here.
And I think Angelo and Chaim now think, thank God we got rid of that couple. Next year we're going up a category.
And with the ride that they brought here, they're first in the Grandmasters if you look at it. No Grandmaster rider has got here yet. And if they keep on riding like that, it could be their category for the next years to come.
And we're just looking at the pictures on the live feed. Shlomi's face looks full of dust, doesn't it? And he doesn't actually look as fresh as he did the days before.
He came here to work, and he did work. It wasn't an easy race for him. It wasn't an easy race for everyone. Even Lucas Baum said it was hard. They felt their legs. No magic tricks. They're just fastest riders. Just no magic tricks for everyone, even for the pros. They all work hard. They work hard at home, and they work hard here as well. They just get the faster speeds. We're just going to try and get some more interviews for you from the finishers of today's race. Today's was the final stage of Bara Epic Israel. It was great fun being here. We started already over 3 hours ago here in the race village. In the regional council of Mate Asher, more and more riders are making their way back to the race village. Some did the one-day race, some did the full 4 days. And we may get some interviews in a moment. You see riders relaxing with some Galil juices over there. This is Aliyah Daniel, who had a great race. We're just about to be joined by Team M&M. As we see, Channel 5 is summing up today's race. We're here joined by a member of Team M&M, Muhammad Yaha. How was today's race?
Oh, it was perfect.
Well, it seemed like you improved every day. You started a little bit more back, and today you finished in the top 10. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels good. The stage one wasn't good. We did not like the track. The second stage was the route of the single. That was perfect for us. And today we came in the chassis group. We came in the first chassis group, and in the single track of Hanita, we just ran away.
Well, I understand you only started riding 2 years ago, and you're here finishing top 10 in the Epic. How did you do it? How did you start riding? How did you get to be so good?
Actually, I practice a lot, and that's it. And I have a good genetics. Looks like I have a good genetics.
And do you think you can get more children in your local village to ride bikes? And we want to encourage children to ride bikes.
Yeah, of course. In the last 2 years, it's just getting more and more...
bigger and bigger, isn't it? More and more kids.
Yeah.
Do you think they will look to you as a superstar?
Maybe not me, but little kids will be a big star.
Where do you think you can go? Can you get better?
Actually, no. In the next week, I will finish my engineering. I'm an engineering student, and the the next week I will finish with my
Yes.
fourth year.
Next year, cycling, will you be faster?
I hope.
We all hope. Well,
Yes.
good luck. Thank you. Go and rest and go and see your family. I know they're here to support you.
Thank you.
Well, it was great hearing from Muhammad. It was a great race here at Bara, Epic Israel. We had 4 great race stages. We had great winners. We had great racing in all the categories. It was a pleasure for me to be here. I was Ori Torbener. With me was Elliot Sherman. We had a pleasure.
And thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Not everybody wants to give me a microphone.
See you next year.
We hope.